Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new series, What If Kid Naruto Pranked Everyone in Konoha, Part 1. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
All day, Iruka had been tense. Although it would appear to an outsider that he was exaggerating, he was aware of this. Even though the school day was almost over, Naruto had not played any practical jokes. There hadn't been any attempts at pranking in a month, and it was the first day back from vacation. When he was younger, he had attempted the long con once, but had never been able to resist this long. He simply knew that whatever Naruto was doing would be enormous. Sakura, like the majority of the class, was staring at him in confusion. Iruka, is my answer wrong? Oh, he said, jolting back to the present after a few minutes of complete lucidity. No, it was correct. Now can anyone tell me why practicing shurikenjutsu is so important? He glanced around the classroom, and everyone's strange expressions persisted. At last, Sakura held up her hand once more. Well, if no one else knows, go ahead, Sakura. It's just, that was the question you asked before, and I already answered it. He realized his error, and he heard some students laughing. That was a test, very good, you saw through the trick. Moving on, let's go get some target practice in. As the students got ready to leave for the training grounds, there was a cheer. He was unable to ignore Naruto's typical level of excitement, which is another red flag. He made an effort to ignore the feeling of danger. He felt compelled to concentrate on teaching 7-year-olds how to throw sharp objects without hurting themselves instead. The day came to an end when some parents arrived. Okay, good job, everyone. Remember to keep practicing in your free time as well. Kiba boasted loudly, I hit more targets than you, Naruto. Naruto countered, you cheated. Akamaru put all the work in. Besides, I wasn't even trying today. That strange remark made Iruka tense again. On the training grounds, Naruto was always fiercely competitive. Something wasn't right. Since Naruto was always the last person there, he watched as the group of students gradually dispersed as parents passed by. He would have to try to stop it if he knew something was going to happen soon. He would have more time to piece together this brewing prank if he asked, do you need me to take you home, Naruto? Oh no, I'm waiting. The warning signs were beginning to sound in his mind. Was he planning to set up something in the academy by waiting for Iruka to depart? He glanced around. He must have materials somewhere if it was something like that. You sure? His mind began working overtime to come up with possible plans. We could even stop and get something to eat on the way? He knew Naruto could never refuse ramen, so this was his go-to tactic to get him to do something. Nah, I shouldn't have to wait too much longer, was his response. The only reason was that Iruka was on him. Well, I'll just sit over here with you, or I could give you some more pointers for throwing shuriken. He could see him thinking about it, and this was his last-ditch attempt to postpone whatever Naruto had come up with. He expressed gratitude to the authorities for assisting him in averting this disaster. His plotting was cut short when a new voice interrupted. Naruto, I apologize for being late. Another person approached. This place is not easy to get to if you take the roads. Iruka paused and gave this newcomer a look. They appeared to be about his age, slightly shorter, and had short, unclean blonde hair. He looked into their green eyes, trying to make out who this was. Oh, you must be Iruka, he said, glancing at the extended hand. He reluctantly shook it and said, yeah, I am. Sorry, I don't think I know who you are. Really? They asked, turning to face Naruto. I thought he would have told you, but right, sorry. I'm Rozu. It's nice to have a face for the legendary Iruka Naruto talks about all the time. Well, it's nice to meet you too. Iruka asked, turning to face Naruto, who had a big smile on his face. Oh, how could I forget? Sorry, Iruka, this is my mom. What? Iruka said, raising his head to face Rozu once more. Oh, and he offered to get us some ramen, so is that cool? Naruto, you had ramen yesterday, you can't have it 2 nights in a row, but if you'd like to have dinner with us, you are more than free to. Iruka was still trying to comprehend who he was meeting while in a state of shock. Naruto's loud laughter was the only thing that broke him out of this. Yes, I would like that. He wanted to avoid being impolite, but he also wanted to know if this was a complex ploy to trick him. Great, I can write down our address for you then. That would be very helpful, yeah. After a few moments of waiting, he saw that nothing was taken out to write on. Oh, do you need a pen or some paper? As they gazed down at the ongoing handshake, they said, I kind of just need you to let go of my hand. Iruka swiftly withdrew his hand, feeling a great deal of embarrassment. Alright, sorry. And you can stop by, they said, glancing at Naruto. I guess around 6? 6 sounds great, he said, taking the note with the address. Perfect, this is nice since I wanted to meet with you and ask about how he was in school and everything like that. What? Naruto jerked to his feet. That doesn't need to be known. I'm a great student, right Iruka? He got the last laugh as Naruto's face drooped, saying, I think we will have quite a lot to talk about over dinner today. Taking Naruto's head, Rozu said, Great, I'm looking forward to it, and began to leave. Iruka waved them away courteously, waited to disappear, and then silently freaked out. Did Naruto have a mother? Why hadn't he been informed of this? He thought the Hokage would have set this up to keep him from being alone. He went to the Hokage tower to get some preliminary answers before attending the dinner. He appeared to be leaving when he conveniently ran into the Hokage. Ah Iruka. He appeared happier than Iruka had anticipated. A pleasant surprise to see you. He wasn't sure how, but he knew Naruto had managed to get the Hokage involved in this prank. Thank you sir? He asked. Are you stopping by for any particular reason? I was about to head home for the day. Sorry, yes I am. I just have a few questions about Naruto's new mom. Oh, so you've met Rozu? Iruka had completed a few missions during the academy break, but he didn't anticipate missing anything of that nature. Yes I have. When did that happen exactly? He asked. I want to say 3 weeks ago. I'd have to check my calendar for an exact date though. No, that's not necessary. Another question I have. How did this happen? You'd have to ask the two of them for exact details there, but from what I understand Rozu met Naruto by chance. They were here for a visit of some kind, and then adopted him, formally became a citizen here, and now work as my secretary. So you didn't just assign someone to adopt him? It happened naturally? Iruka, I thought you were past these feelings towards Naruto. No, it's not that. I'm just a little unsure of him being adopted by someone who just showed up 3 weeks ago. I was too, I assure you, but I personally vetted Rozu and found them to be perfectly fine. If you'd like, I'm sure I could arrange a meeting between you two and you could do your own vetting. I'm actually having dinner with the two of them today. Well, if tomorrow you have doubts of character or fear for Naruto's well-being, please bring them to my attention. Of course, sir. Good, now I will be on my way, he said, and he did just that. Iruka was now only 70% certain that this was a prank after hearing the Hokage's information on the matter. He simply passed the few hours before the dinner plans since he had nothing better to do. He was confident in his ability to solve this and in his choice of dessert, which he kindly purchased to bring. He knocked on the door 10 minutes before 6 o'clock. He heard frantic footsteps hurrying towards the door and exclaimed, Shit, he's early, go stall him. Hey there, Iruka, Naruto said as he opened the door and noticed smoke emanating from what he thought was the kitchen. Didn't you say a good ninja is on time? He asked, Is everything okay? In an attempt to find out what was causing the smoke, but Naruto further shut the door to prevent him from doing so. Yeah, it's all, good. There's no burnt cake, why would you even mention that? I didn't, what crazy? Naruto exclaimed, using his loud laughter as a diversion to find another. Whoa, what's that you got there? A bag? That's cool. Yeah, I bought a small cake to bring for dessert since your mom was making dinner. Is that going okay? Oh, the dinner? Yeah, that's going real good. Fuck, didn't convince him. Just the baking, cause mom wanted to make a cake for dessert. That hasn't been going too great. A window slammed open, then closed again, and Iruka heard it. After a short while, the door was fully opened, and Rozu entered the discussion. So, they said, glancing at the bag he was holding. That's a neat bag you go there, huh? Yeah, I stopped and got a cake for dessert. Oh, that's great, I didn't have time. Yeah, that's it, I didn't have time to make one. Right, of course. Iruka didn't want to offend anyone by sharing what he had heard and seen. Can I come in? Yes, of course. Welcome to our lovely and currently smoke-filled home. Naturally, it was small, with the living room, dining area, and kitchen all appearing to be merged into one space. Based on the doors he saw, he estimated that there were 2 bedrooms and that the third was most likely the bathroom. Naruto had rented out what appeared to be a fairly nice space for this elaborate prank. Rozu returned to the kitchen area and said, Please feel free to choose any seat. I also hope you enjoy chicken, which I didn't think to ask earlier. Also, do you want a drink? We have water, milk, or wine. Wine? Oh great, they said, bringing out the bottle and pouring him a glass. The Hokage gave it to me as a gift, but I really don't like wine, so feel free to take the bottle, I guess? Oh Iruka was torn between not wanting to be impolite and not wanting to have a whole bottle of wine with this meal. Thank you, but could I also get some water? Of course. As they brought out the rest of the food, he waited in silence. He was taken aback by how well the chicken stir-fry looked considering the scene he had arrived at. They started eating as soon as the three of them were seated at the table. Thank you for dinner. He was still a little cautious, waiting for something to catch him off guard. It was very good. Oh, thank you. Rozu grinned at the praise. Turns out reading cookbooks is a great way to learn how to cook quickly. Naruto whispered to him, yeah, you should have been here 2 weeks ago. We got takeout cause mom kept burning everything. I heard that. I didn't say anything, you can't prove it. Iruka didn't get that. Did you not used to cook? Not really, no. He thought this would be an excellent opportunity to find out more about them. Not a lot of time with your old job? He asked. That is certainly a way to put it. What did you used to do? Oh, a little of this, a little of that, you know? No, I can't say I do. Oh, sure you do, you know, temp work. Yeah, temp work. You used to work as a temp worker. Yup. And where are you from? Oh, all over, lots of travel with the temp work. Before that I was born in the land of snow and lived there for a good while. He wanted to maintain the momentum of this real response, so he asked, and you came here because? Hard to say, just was here, you know. Sure, he ought to have known that wouldn't pan out. And you adopted Naruto? Sure did, there's paperwork and everything to back that up. How did you two meet? Oh, I got this one, Naruto said, deciding to join the discussion after spending too much time on the sidelines. By all means. Iruka expected to hear Rozu's opinion later, but he also wanted to hear this from Naruto. Well, it all started when you were on a 2-day mission last month. I coordinated my last big prank with you being out of town. Of course you did, continue please. I was pulling a fast one on some of those losers, you know the ones. 2 ninjas were pursuing Naruto as he ran as fast as his short legs would allow. He was certain that no one could discover his hiding places because he had gotten away and tricked these two quite a few times while Iruka was out of town. He clung to the base of a water tower and turned behind the roof of a taller building. Damn it. The one who halted close by to attempt to follow his trail. How fast is this kid? The other ninja glanced at the rooftops and said, he can't be that fast. He must have gone down to the streets, come on. The two went down to the streets below to continue their wild goose chase. To be safe, Naruto stayed hidden for an additional minute before descending. He took out a checklist he had created and marked off their names. 2 down, 4 to go. Though he was only 7, he was determined to exact revenge on these jerks in one way or another. After he had successfully avoided those 2, he leapt into a nearby alley. In order to pause and refuel, he ensured that the final segments of his escape routes were all near Ichiraku. He stopped when he noticed someone at the end of the alley. They came over as soon as they saw him. What a waste of his ideal vacation. There you are, they exclaimed as they got close enough to seize one of his arms. I've been worried, sick young man. You have been? He was unsure of the identity of the person, but they were unquestionably not one of the ninjas pursuing him. Of course I have. I take my eyes off of you for 1 second and poof, you're gone. He was unsure of the identities of the 2 other individuals he could now make out at the end of the alleyway. Hey, you. His rhythm was completely disrupted by the remark, excuse me. I am speaking to my son at this moment. I mean seriously, you could have got hurt. And look where I find you, an alleyway, this is not clean at all. The person who had called out earlier approached, and Naruto noticed that he was wearing no headband. Young man, is this your? He asked. Parent? He glanced up at their face, and they gave him a barely noticeable nod in return. Uncertain of what to do, Naruto chose to comply. Yup, this is my mom. Really? Yup, why else would I have said that? He heard his now fake mother take a sharp breath and asked, and what exactly is your mother's name? Duh, it's Mom. Oh really, what kind doesn't know his mother's name? Actually, was the other guy's first word. I never learned my mom's name. Really? It's rude to not call her mom. You are unbelievable. Fine, apparently that makes sense, but you look pretty young to have a kid this big. Oh my gosh. They said, twirling a strand of hair around a finger. That's quite nice of you to say, sir. That's not what I mean. What's your son's name? Oh really? You think I don't know the name of my little boy? I'm getting some very mixed signals, sir. Answer the question. They paused as Naruto's stomach rumbled, saying, I don't think I will since you were being very rude, and you were wasting my time. We are on our way to go get some lunch. Yay. Naruto seized the opportunity to assist this stranger and receive free food. Naruto loves ramen. Once more, The second man said, I don't think we have the right person, like our target definitely doesn't have a kid. I'm aware. The first man appeared to be extremely frustrated with his associate and the entire circumstance he was facing. Fine, sorry for the misunderstanding, have a good lunch. Thanks, mister. Naruto made the bold decision to convince. The two of them disappeared into the crowded street, waving the men away as they left the alleyway. His mom exhaled deeply in relief after a short while. Are you some kind of child actor? That was an incredible performance. That was nothing, and you should be glad. Fake tears cost a lot more than just a ramen bowl. Well, I see you've already learned life's most important lesson. If you're good at something, never do it for free. Speaking of which, caused his stomach to rumble once more. Alright, we'll get you some ramen and then I'll drop you off with your actual parents. Once Naruto had crossed the ramen threshold, he would allow them to cross the orphan bridge. After a quick stroll, he was placing his order for his preferred bowl. Tucci brought out the bowls for the two of them and said, well, this is a new face. Naruto, are you going to make any friends your own age? Naruto used air quotes when he stated, this isn't my friend, this is my mom. Your mom? He asked, looking bewildered between them. Since when? Since like 10 minutes ago. He was just looking back for some sort of explanation when they threw up a peace sign at him. Both of them were too preoccupied with eating to provide more specifics. One of the ninja who had given Naruto the slip jerked him off the stool, rudely interrupting him from his bowl. He scowled at Naruto and said, I knew coming here would be the easiest way to find you. Do you mind? Naruto simply pointed to the ramen since he was at a loss for words. Yes, I do mind, and you are going to be in a lot of trouble for what you did. Naruto said, pardon me, as he saw his mom set down their bowl and turned to the ninja. Would you mind putting my son down so he can finish eating? He is a growing boy. You're what? My son, Naruto, the boy you are holding onto right now. Put him down. He obeyed and set Naruto down as a puzzled expression appeared on his face. He had known all his life that he had been missing out on things because he didn't have parents, but by this much. Now what exactly do you think my son did that warrants you coming in here and putting your hands on him? He vandalized the memorial stone. When exactly do you think he did this? Like 30 minutes ago I chased him right afterwards. They stared him down while folding their arms and saying, that is impossible. Me and my son were out shopping earlier this morning, and now I'm taking him out to lunch. I think I would have noticed if he disappeared and vandalized a memorial. Are you calling me a liar? When he said, yes, I am, they snarled at him. I'm also calling you very rude, and kind of annoying. Now if you don't mind, get out of here. Naruto saw the man he had most likely been escaping from a moment before lose his confidence. His mom simply pointed to the street when he feebly attempted to gesture toward Naruto and say something. This ninja became a broken man and went. Naruto couldn't speak. He had not only committed the crime, but he was also getting away with it, with no deception on his part. They sat down to eat again after he left, asking, geez, does everyone in this place have terrible manners? That was incredible, you just broke that guy. You pick up some tricks on the road of life, namely how to sound assertive and angry. I should also say I definitely did vandalize that thing. Naruto didn't want to add another lie to this relationship. Oh, I don't care, I didn't even listen to what he said you did. Consider this extra payback for your help earlier. So I take it, Tucci had simply watched events unfold. You're not really his mom? They were shocked that he had to ask, geez kid, do your parents not take you out to eat? About that, was Naruto's realization that it was time to cross the orphan bridge. I kinda don't have parents. What? Really? Yup, Tucci said, he's all on his own. Isn't there an orphanage? Isn't that like the explicit job of an orphanage to care for kids without parents? I kinda got kicked out, they can do that. Apparently, Naruto was unwilling to provide an explanation for his violation of the 18 strike rule. If you tell me that alley I found you in is where you live, I'll lose it. Oh no, I've got an apartment, and I get money from the old man. Their reaction to that was quite a look. So this old man gives you money so you can live on your own, instead of just taking care of you? I mean, technically yes. Naruto was unable to see the location of this specific course. They glanced at each other and asked, where can I find this old man? Oh, I can show you. Tucci attempted to stop the resulting catastrophe by saying, Naruto, maybe that's not a gray. Thanks for the food, keep the change, let's have a talk with this old guy, they said, leaving Naruto behind after dropping a hefty amount of cash on the counter. Tucci wasn't sure who to worry about more. Oh, why can't he just call him the Hokage? They followed Naruto to the Hokage tower, but he never described what it was. Only that the elderly man had a very significant office job there. By no means was the present secretary prepared. She didn't really check, but she didn't like how frequently Naruto would stop by either. Sorry, but he's in a meeting, Naruto. Oh, he's in a meeting. Neither of them had anticipated his mom slamming into the desk and shouting things out. Is that right? She started to tremble. Yes. Well, I don't hear anyone talking, so what kind of meeting is that? She attempted to respond, but because she was so terrified, her words came out as stifled noises. They went to the door after saying, I'm going in there, and when I'm done, I may or may not have some more words for you. Panicked, the secretary curled up in her chair. Naruto saw her grab a piece of paper off the desk, write something on it, and then hurry off. He realized he should probably step in somehow when he heard the office door being kicked. You was now pointed at the Hokage with aggression. He held his pipe, which he had just packed for a smoke, and asked, me. You, they said as they approached the desk and tossed the papers aside. He saw Naruto in the doorway and asked, Naruto? Who are you? The words, that is not what I am here to discuss, were pushed back in the chair after they gave him a sharp poke in the chest. I am here to discuss you, you deadbeat piece, cover your ears, Naruto. Naruto actually covered his ears, so he missed the end of that sentence and the following few. There was a lot of pointing between him and the Hokage, followed by louder shouting, and he could tell. When another person showed up on the scene, everything stopped. Kakashi glanced at the smashed door, the strewn objects scattered throughout the room, and a shouting stranger. Lord Hokage, I have the report from that last mission for you. And ANOT, they ceased to hear, Lord Hokage? Yes, the Hokage, who you were pointing at. Before turning back to the Hokage, they glanced at Kakashi, who was standing next to Naruto. Slowly, their eyes grew wide with insight. They started frantically gathering up everything they had thrown on the floor and rearranging it on the desk. Kakashi. Yes? Thank you. Also, I picked up the letter of resignation from your secretary, she left it on the desk. Oh, great. Haha, that's so funny. Was their attempt to appear calm. She didn't, you know, write why on there, did she? Workplace stress. Oh, that's so not specific, it could be anything. He indicated that he had a good idea of what it might mean. Now that you've calmed down, who are you? Naruto made the decision to try to speed up this explanation by saying, that's my mom. I may have badly explained who you were when asked earlier. The Hokage glanced at them and said, Mom? Yeah, as of like, an hour ago now? Yeah, about an hour. The Hokage was not entirely sure what they meant when they asked, Naruto, did you get adopted an hour ago? I mean no, but also not no. He was now asking the mother in question, did you do the adoption paperwork? No, it was kind of a spur of the moment thing. I wouldn't say I'm actually his mother. Certainly not legally. Well, you could have fooled me. Have I mentioned I'm very sorry about that little misunderstanding? You haven't actually. I am so sorry about that. Well, he said, glancing at the papers that had returned to his desk. I am the Hokage and have the proper paperwork somewhere here. They scratched the back of their heads and said, I don't know if that's a great idea. I'm only going to be in town for, well, a few more hours I think. I'm not even a citizen here. I've got the paperwork for that too. I also only have my limited savings and no job, or home. I don't think I meet any of the adoption requirements. I have a home. In this brief period, Naruto had become quite accustomed to having a parent. And I now have an open secretary position. And I'm here. Kakashi brought to everyone's attention that he was indeed present. So I can be the voucher for citizenship. I don't even know you. So, you've apparently been Naruto's mom for an hour now, good enough for me. The words, I see, made them scan the room like a snagged animal. I guess, I'll be signing that, paperwork? Excellent, the Hokage said, pulling two forms from his board. Naruto's mom, after a single minor abuse of power, became both his mother and a legitimate villager. He would have spent much more time in alleyways if he had known that getting a parent would be this simple. Naruto halted the trio, saying, wait, no one tell Iruka. Kakashi raised one eyebrow and asked, why? It'll be really funny, I swear. He shrugged and went on his way, saying, okay. The Hokage said, glancing at the forms. Just Rozu? No last name. Was their grimace in response. Yes. Yes, you have a last name, or yes you don't. The second one. Well then, I guess it's unorthodox, but since you are now Naruto's mother you'll officially be in the books as Rozu Uzumaki. Oh great, Rozu said, looking strangely relieved. Do I start here for work tomorrow? Yes, I will need you immediately. They began to slowly make their way to the door, saying, okay, then, I guess I'll see you then, boss? Yes, you will. Have a good rest of the day, you too. Naruto then escorted Rozu back to their future residence. They took a brief look around. Alright, we will find a new home as soon as possible if that's alright. What, why? I don't mind sleeping on the couch for now, but I do want to have my own bedroom now that I'm staying here. Oh yeah, Naruto hadn't given that much thought. They ruffled his hair, saying, but I'll worry about that. For now I guess, tell me more about yourself, son. Naruto spent the remainder of that evening and the majority of the next day telling Rozu everything he could think of about himself. He had longed for a family and parents all of his life, and he finally got one by chance. He was eager to share the news that he now had a mother with everyone he knew. So yeah, that about covers it all, was how Naruto concluded his tale with Iruka in the present. Any questions? Yes, a lot of them. He would need to speak with a lot of people regarding the practicalities of granting citizenship and parental rights to a stranger who met Naruto in an alley and used him as a prop for a lie. Rozu could assume they would be pointing at them. Okay, well, what are they? Why were you trying to escape those two guys? Oh, that was just a misunderstanding, just like in Naruto's story. Really? Yup. No clue who those guys were or why they were following me. Iruka's forehead furrowed. He thought that was an important piece of information to have, but they were obviously trying to keep it a secret. Why did you agree to the whole adoption? It doesn't exactly seem like something you were very thrilled about. Oh, I dunno, was their response to his shrug. Somewhere in the 20 minutes I was yelling profanities at the leader of your village made me reconsider the whole parenting thing, I guess. The fact you weren't thrown in jail over that is surprising too. They attempted to strike a graceful pose while holding their hand beneath their chin and asking, who would throw this face in prison? He made an effort to ignore that. Right, furthermore, do you actually have no last name? No, I have one. What is it, too? It's Uzumaki, of course. Did you not hear the story? Admittedly, Iruka had walked into that one, and because Rozu was so shady, he hadn't gotten very far in getting answers from them. He would have to try again at a later time to get answers. Thank you for dinner, it is getting kind of late though. Rozu looked at the clock and said, oh, I see. Naruto has school in the morning. You're the teacher. Yes, I am. Made Iruka chuckle a little. In the midst of the story and the baking, Rozu had forgotten to mention that. Okay, hopefully we can have a meeting about how he is in school sometime soon then. Once more, that is not required. Iruka was staring directly into Naruto's eyes. He grinned back at him and said, it can be arranged. Even though he was still very skeptical about how Naruto got a parent, Iruka had to admit that they seemed to be a good influence on him. He had demonstrated a desire to get better and a noticeable increase in skill in the first week of classes after the break ended, which only made him more suspicious of this Rozu. If they were helping him train, there was undoubtedly more to them than they attempted to claim. He was deep in thought as he was walking along the park trail when he noticed a big cloud of dust approaching him and ducked out of his way. Guy, who he only knew through Kakashi, skidded to a stop and said, Ah, Iruka. Sorry to have nearly bowled you over there. He should have realized, no harm no foul Guy, sooner if he hadn't been so preoccupied. That's good to hear. Kakashi keeps saying that my training is causing chaos. When I tell him that this is only the warm-up jog and not even my training, he refuses to listen. Guy was explaining his routine when Iruka saw two other people approaching the trail. He ruled out his previous line of thought when he saw Naruto and Rozu running tiredly towards them, and he stopped explaining when they both collapsed in front of Guy. Ah, perfect. I was worried you two had given up on our warm-up run. Wouldn't dream of it, Rozu said, taking 2 water bottles out of a small gym bag and starting to drink one. Is it possible that the running is finished? While he awaited a response, Naruto took the other bottle and drank. Nearly finished. We've only made it halfway around the village, we still have to finish this lap and the next one, Guy said, looking surprised by the inquiry. As they gasped for air, Iruka said, Guy, I think you might be pushing them too far. Is this the first time you've worked out with someone else? No, anybody besides Kakashi? Yes. Do you believe they should begin training at a slightly lower intensity? The floor gave a half-hearted cheer when someone said, I suppose you're right. A half lap is a good place to start them for the run. We can now proceed to 1,000. Lower. 500. Please lower. Rozu appeared as though the mere sound of the numbers would cause them to faint. 100? What if you do your 1000 and we just do 20? He scratched his chin and said, I suppose that might work, but 20 is a little low for the sets. What is the number of sets? Iruka was beginning to believe Kakashi's stories about Guy, even though she hadn't before. 10 of course. I think I can do that, was Naruto's attempt to sound assured, but it came off as a little flat because he was still on the ground. Great, since you're already down there, we can start with push-ups. Guy joined them on the floor and began performing push-ups at a crazy pace. Who is he? Rozu could hardly keep up with him merely observing him. When Iruka felt good about his own condition after watching Naruto and Rozu train, he would watch Guy to feel worse. After hours, they made it to the last set of the workout, with Guy finishing his sets so much earlier and alternating between encouraging him and getting more water. Finally, the two of them completed the last set of kicks. Yes, Guy exclaimed as they collapsed once more. How does it feel to hone your youthful power? Can't we ever do this again, Mom? Naruto continued to applaud them while whispering to them. Rozu obviously regretted accepting the training because he knows where we live, and we can't hide and we can't outrun him. As his speech came to an end, Guy began to cry a little. I am so proud to have helped you both take the first time on this journey. Guy, I believe Naruto fainted. As his eyes closed, Iruka approached to see how he was doing. Oh, that brings me back. I was reported missing all the time when I'd pass out training. Iruka glanced at Naruto, who was obviously acting to get out of this situation sooner, and after everything he'd witnessed, Iruka concluded that the two of them had earned it, while Guy continued to cry over his own wonderful journey. Yeah, he's out all right. I'll have to help the two of them get back home. Guy wiped away his tears and picked Naruto up, saying, I insist on helping as well. Iruka watched as Naruto was hurled away at a high speed, saying, I'll get Rozu then. The words, brave kid, he really bit the bullet today, helped Rozu stand up. For what specific reason were you training with Guy? To assist them in walking back, Iruka placed one of their arms over his shoulder. Well, Naruto asked me to assist him with his training, and I am completely knowledgeable about it. Since I only know about 5 people here, I asked Kakashi, and he suggested that Guy be the person to contact. Naruto insisted that we train with him after we were introduced, and he punched a boulder into pebbles. Kakashi must not like you very much. I can see that now. It's hard to read that guy. You figure it out after a while. This is from you? I also can't read you very well. What? He was essentially an open book, Iruka was fairly certain. You come at me with a whole lot of questions, get kind of annoyed when I dodge them all, and now you're carrying me back home after a day of making sure Guy didn't kill us. My questions were justified. You apparently dropped out of the sky and adopted Naruto. I'm not saying they aren't, it just gives me some mixed signals. Well, I don't have any mixed signals from you. Really? Yes, you are not someone I trust. Therefore, you had better stop doing whatever you're doing in the village. I kinda walked into that one, I guess, they said with a sigh. Don't worry, once I've finished learning all of the weaknesses of every ninja here, I'll be on my way back to my evil lair with my super evil boss. He rolled his eyes at them, saying, you know that's not what I meant. I don't really. I'm talking about stalking, staking out my place, and stealing my clothes for no apparent reason, so either get over your paranoia or go completely crazy. I think I'm going to pick the third choice of being a healthy amount of suspicious and keep asking you questions. Boring, but I guess ask away. Right? He didn't think they would really provide any answers, but it couldn't hurt to ask. Where are you from? Land of snow, like I've told you before. Where exactly are you from? This is your second of your 3 questions I want you to know, so feel good about wasting it since I am really from the land of snow. What? Why just 3 inquiries? Furthermore, this is not the third one. Alright, this is a freebie. I wanted to thank you for helping me today by giving you 3 real answers. However, there is only one left. In response to his third question, he assumed that they would simply lie and say, fine. Why are you still here? That's easy, Naruto. Really? What do I look like? I won't adopt an orphan and then abandon him. Don't respond that I am aware of my appearance. I actually kind of believe you, was a statement that surprised him because of how casually they had stated it. He's a good kid, and just because I'm not old enough to have and raise a child doesn't mean I'm a quitter. Much better than the last one I watched. The final one? They halted as they watched Guy perform squats with Naruto as a weight, saying, sorry, you're all out of questions, and we're bah. There you are. I didn't know which apartment was the right one, he said, pausing to approach them. They both glanced at Naruto, who had either become very skilled at pretending or had been knocked unconscious by Guy's ferocious squats. The statement, "Right, I can take him from here," sounded unconfident to Rozu. "Are you certain?" "Yes, I'm sure we've already occupied enough of your day. You're a busy man, so you can't help us all day." "All right then," he said, gently handing Naruto over to them. "I'll see you next week, and try to continue working independently as well." As his dust cloud dissipated, Rozu started to go inside, and they watched him dash off, most likely to continue his training. They strained a little to hold Naruto and seize the keys, thinking, maybe this village is way too dangerous to raise a kid in. Iruka offered them a hand and said, "It's not that bad. Of course you apparently have some experience with it." With his assistance, they were able to open the door and enter with Naruto. "Nice try, but I'm not offering up any more freebies. You'll have to earn more answers." "Exactly how do I do that?" "I'll think about giving you some bonus ones too since you're kinda cute," they said, placing Naruto on a couch and settling him into a chair. "If you keep being nice and helping me out, that's not a bad start." "What?" When Iruka received the unexpected compliment, her face flushed. "Yeah, like that." Since they were still a possible threat to Naruto and the village, he could not allow them to easily agitate him, so Iruka simply left without knowing what to do or say in response. Once he was out on his own again, he became angry with himself for becoming agitated. "Hey, hold on," Rozu was calling to him from a window. "Want to grab lunch?" He hesitated once more, acknowledging that he was unsure of what to do, but he could see that they were obviously attempting to ask him out, so he had to decline. It was obviously a ruse, but he could also take advantage of the opportunity to learn more. "A no works too. I know Naruto's going to be super hungry when he wakes," they interrupted his thought process. "And you're already down there, I could pay you back." He might not have understood that. "Oh, yeah, I guess I can." "Many thanks. I suppose you just got it from somewhere." "I'll get some ramen," was his response because he was unsure of what else Naruto would eat. They dipped back into the room and said, "That's probably the best idea, just wait a second." Now that they weren't staring at him, he became irritated with himself once more. He had obviously allowed them to influence him with that endearing remark, and he would take steps to ensure that it didn't happen again. "Look out." When he looked up, he saw the wallet thrown to him. It was a small wallet shaped like a panda, and he had to admit it looked pretty adorable. "Please, don't spend it all." With a, "Right, thank you," he put it in his pocket and went to Ichiraku. Tucci greeted him, saying, "Look who it is. I haven't seen you here by yourself in a long time." Typical. He glanced at the menu, unsure of what bowl Rozu would prefer, and said, "If I can get it to go in a bowl for Naruto, and I guess a second bowl for Naruto." After accepting the money from Iruka, he said, "Okay, I'll have those ready for you in a jiffy," and went into the kitchen. Iruka sat down at the counter and reflected on what he had learned today. They were very adamant that they were from the land of snow, which didn't explain why Rozu was in Konoha. If they were ninja from there, they were also amazing actors. And he now had this information about a child they had reportedly cared for at some point, which didn't seem to be true based on everything he had seen. He was too preoccupied with these thoughts to notice Kakashi's arrival until he spoke. "I like the new wallet." He had been losing himself in thought while he was staring at the panda wallet. "It's not mine. I thought teachers would be paid enough to not need to pickpocket for cash. I've been living under my desk for years now, so it really was just a matter of time. Guess the future of the village is in some very sticky hands." This is from the man who circulates pornographic literature. The connotation of that isn't exactly what I wanted. The two laughed a little. Iruka hadn't seen Kakashi in a while. The man had gone on more missions in a month than he had in 5 years. Tucci placed 2 plastic bags on the counter and said, "Here are your 2 bowls to go." "Thanks. I'm sure Naruto will be happy to smell this after training today." "Kakashi, is there anything I can get you? I'll take a bowl to go as well. I'll catch up to you, Iruka." Right. He chose not to alert him to the environment he would be entering. After a short walk back, he was standing in front of the door of the Uzumaki residence and knocked with 2 quick headbutts. "It's accessible." From somewhere inside, Rozu shouted. Setting one bag aside, he opened the door and discovered Rozu lying on the floor near the window and Naruto still lying on the couch as before. Both of them became alert when the smell of ramen filled the apartment. "Yes," Naruto said as he scurried over and took a bowl from the bag Iruka was carrying. "You're not going to eat that on the ground." With a pout, Naruto climbed into a chair near the table and said, "Fine." Iruka placed the other two bowls on the table and observed Rozu carefully clambering into a chair next to them. Someone else may be joining us as well. Who is it exactly? Oh, you'll see. Oh, when people avoid your questions, it irritates you. You don't like this aspect of it. I have no idea what you mean. He sighed and began eating his bowl. Of course not. As Rozu attempted to get Naruto to eat his bowl like a normal human, Iruka tried not to laugh out loud, but he had to admire their perseverance, even if the approach was a little strange, because he had given up on that almost instantly. The phrase, "We use utensils in this family," was applied while he was in a light choke. Never, Naruto was trying his hardest to wriggle and squirm, obviously hoping that his boundless child energy would prevail in the battle of attrition. Kakashi hopped through the window and entered a bizarre scene, saying, "Maybe I'll come back later." "Oh no, you don't, go train with Guy, you said, it'll be fine," Rozu said, releasing Naruto and hurling his pair of chopsticks into the wall near Kakashi's head. Iruka's eyes were fixed on the chopsticks, which were inserted a few inches into the wall and had been thrown too precisely for him to ignore, and he was certain that they would make more mistakes if he wanted to uncover more information. Nearly 2 months had passed since Konoha had acquired another Uzumaki, and Naruto was returning home by himself for the first time since they had arrived. This past weekend, Iruka hadn't been monitoring them as closely, but he was certain he would have been informed if they disappeared. He decided to go after Naruto and stick his nose right into this. "Hey, wait up." Iruka chose to call out to him so as not to come across as strange. "Shouldn't you be waiting for your mom instead of heading off alone?" "Yeah, I'm heading to visit mom and then going home," indicated that Rozu was remaining in the area. He hoped that his statement, "Well, I'll just come with you to make sure you stay out of trouble," sounded plausible enough. Why does everyone think he'll go 5 minutes unsupervised and cause mayhem? "Is that a paint can in your bag?" He handed the can over and said, "Just because you're right to think that doesn't mean it's not rude." "And the other one?" Naruto also took out a can of spray paint and sighed in frustration. Iruka left them to be stored at the academy. Naruto stopped his mischievous behavior and led Iruka away. He didn't realize they weren't going to the Hokage Tower for quite some time. "Where is your mom exactly, Naruto?" Iruka had, to be honest, gotten himself into a bad situation. "Hospital. For work. Yeah." He was unable to come up with a reason why the Hokage's secretary would be at the hospital on business, but he thought Rozu could provide an explanation. They found themselves on the second floor after the front desk staff gave them a few disdainful glances and waves. Iruka became aware that he might not fully comprehend their purpose as they entered the recovery wing. His attention was drawn to Rozu's voice as he emerged from a room before them, asking, "How am I supposed to recover? Without good daytime television? Seriously, if I wanted to watch broadcast TV I'd have gone home." Naruto rushed into the room and yelled, "Mom!" Iruka exclaimed, "Naruto!" as they pulled him from the bed into a half-huddle while wearing a cast on their other arm. "And you have a chaperone, you weren't trying to pull some prank while I was in here, were you?" "I would do no such thing." He had 2 cans of paint on him. Iruka attempted to conceal the surprise of this. "Narc!" caused Naruto to chuckle. "But this violates the 1 prank a month rule, young man. I didn't even get to do it. That's not fair." He disliked not knowing about prank-related activities. "Wait, what was the first prank?" he asked. "Okay, it can slide since he didn't notice it, yes." He was becoming slow, so Iruka mentally noted that he needed to check everything for this prank. Rozu got out of bed and stretched their good arm, saying, "Okay, if you two can get a doctor, I can get dressed and we can head home." "Is that a good idea?" "Yeah, I got my stitches and my cast, just gotta take it easy while I heal." "How did you end up here exactly?" They waved him away and retrieved some clothing from a counter, saying, "Later, get out of here while I change already." "Sure." He took Naruto and walked away, unsure of what to do. "Any idea where the doctor is?" With a, "No, but this usually works," response, he went to the nearest individual. "Hey, where's a doctor?" Iruka followed him over and said, "Well, I could have done that." "But you didn't." "Shut up." After asking them a question, the nurse they had wandered over to simply ignored them and watched them argue for a few seconds before slinking away. "Now that nurse is gone," Naruto said, scanning the area for another person before leaving. "Hey you." As a woman in a lab coat closed a door, she glanced over and said, "Huh? You a doctor?" "I am, yes." "Great, come with us." She said, staring at Iruka in confusion. "Could you please help us quickly? His mom needs a doctor to be released." She followed them back to Rozu's room and said, "Oh sure, yay. doctor coming in. Rozu and the doctor waited outside the room, listening to some muffled conversation, and after a short while the doctor returned, holding a clipboard and going through some papers on it. Pulling one free, she said, "So yeah, just bring this form to the front desk and you'll be on your way." They said, "Great," and took it in their good hand. "Thanks, doctor." She walked away with a that left Iruka wondering what she was doing in the hospital. As far as Iruka could tell, they only appeared to have the injured arm. Given their generally detached attitude toward the entire situation, he assumed it was the result of something routine. After another half-hour of hospital red tape, the three of them were leaving the hospital. Rozu took out their wallet and gave it to Naruto, saying, "You can choose." "Well, since I don't want to cook, we can grab something on the way." "Oh, decisions. Naruto paused for a single second before rushing in Ichiraku's direction. After Naruto, they said, "Yeah, that figures, you have to get your own today." As he watched Rozu struggle with the Togo bull, he noticed that they must have been right-handed, something he had never noticed before, but he was still curious about what had happened, so he ordered his own bull to go and helped carry theirs so Naruto could get the keys. "Do you know, are you certain?" "Yar." They were now opening the bowl with a moderate amount of success by using their mouth as well. "Right," he said, trying not to laugh when they opened the ramen and ended up splashing it on themselves. At the now ruined shirt, they scowled and said, "Damn it, no one eat my food while I get a new shirt on." Iruka was able to keep Naruto off their bowl while eating his own, though he did laugh at the occasional banging and half-swearing from the other room. Rozu returned with a tank top at last, saying, "Okay, Naruto, we're going to cut the sleeves off some of my shirts later." "Mom, is that a smart idea?" "No, but I can't fit this stupid cast through most of the sleeves, so we're doing it." Iruka was trying to look discreetly, but Naruto poked a chopstick into his ear, interrupting his thoughts. Now that more of their chest was visible, he could see scars covering it, most of which were too faded to be from this weekend. He'd have to try and ask about them some other time. "What the devil?" Angry, he swatted it away. Naruto wrote, "Our record is 1 chopstick now." Rozu began to eat their meal, saying, "Now that you're done zoning out, I can fill you in on what happened." "Whoa, no obstacles to overcome? I can add hoops if you'd like." "No, a normal explanation would be nice. Got in a fight with some drunk guy, he smashed a bottle on my head and I landed on my arm when I fell." What? Is that all?" Iruka had anticipated something a bit less plausible. "Yes. Unless you have knowledge about how I broke my arm that I do not? I guess I just kind of expected something more unusual. Can I share what I think?" Then Naruto held up his hand. "Is there still a dragon in your version?" "Yep." "No, you cannot." "Fine." Naruto put his hand down and pouted a little too much. "So, who was it? Do you know? So you can press charges?" Iruka asked, realizing that he should probably be more concerned about a violent drunk in the village. Nope, just some random dude," was the tone they used, but he could tell there was more to it. "Gave his description to those ninja police or whatever, and they haven't responded. Most likely a guest or something that has already departed." He would also need to question them further about this. "Oh my goodness, I just remembered," they said as they stood up and made their way to the door. "I needed to grab some work-related items. Iruka, would you mind helping me?" "I am able to assist." Naruto hurried to retrieve his shoes. Rozu slid his shoes away and said, "I'm sorry, kiddo, but I assume you have homework to do. Correct, Mr. Instructor?" Iruka became alarmed because they always seemed to want to keep Naruto close by ever since he had met Rozu. Although he wasn't sure what they wanted, he could tell they obviously wanted to spend time alone with him. "Yeah, you've got that assignment for tomorrow, Naruto." "What? But given that my mother was in the hospital, am I not eligible for an extension?" "It was due on Friday and you said you'd get it done by today, so if you can have by tomorrow that'll be within 2 extensions." Crap, Naruto hurried to his bag and began taking papers out. They put on sandals and gestured to Iruka, saying, "I'll give you a hand with it once I'm back." "All right, don't slow down too much." He was now looking in the pile he had created after tossing the bag over. Even though they were down an arm, Rozu made sure to keep his guard up and led him to the building stairwell rather than the exit once the door was closed. They leaned against the door to keep it closed and said, "All right, so let me ask you a question. Do you know anything about Naruto's family?" He was surprised by the question. "No, I can't say I do. Why?" "Now, I'm going to tell you to stay in the stairwell. Do you understand?" He nodded despite the fact that this only made him more tense. Hopefully, the police won't find the man they're searching for. I believe he is buried in the woods right now. You think I'm sorry? Well, I was kind of just following this random guy's lead because I was a little out of it at that point. In case you were wondering, it is not a good idea to dig a hole while suffering from a broken arm. So you killed this guy after he broke your arm? Iruka was somewhat perplexed by this turn of events. They sighed and gave him a long look before saying, "No, I didn't. Naruto did." "What? You expect me to believe that Naruto would do something like that?" he asked, incredulously. "Hell, that he was capable of such a thing?" "He did, but I'm still not sure, so I really don't." He was glowing a reddish orange, which was definitely not normal. Iruka knew exactly what that meant, and his heart fell with it. What happened after that? He attacked the man, who appeared to be a savage animal. The man's head was already cracked open by the time I managed to stand up again and pull him back. Then what? Well, it was nice that the glowing stopped. I frightened for a good minute after turning him away from the body. Then the other man appeared. I don't know, maybe he's a kid. How did he appear? Black hair, red eyes, kind of a bad vibe if I'm honest. Okay, undoubtedly a Uchiha. Did he assist you in concealing the body? He did, in fact, do something that caused Naruto to faint and forget what had happened. Or, I suppose, warped his memory of it. He then assisted me in clearing the area and disposing of the body. Now, to be honest, that has very negative ramifications of its own, but do you know why he assisted you? He didn't say anything at all. I suppose he knows things I don't, though, because he must have also noticed the glowing and didn't inquire about it. The statement, "Well, if you don't know a lot that's pretty easy," would require Iruka to identify the Uchiha in question. Are you aware of what the devil is happening with my son? He could tell they were scared because of the slight change in tone. Iruka hesitated. He was fairly certain that it had something to do with the nine-tailed fox, but should he tell them if they were unaware of that? How would they respond? Would it alter their treatment of Naruto? He knew he had to say something. No, was his decision. I really don't know much about his birth family, but it must be related to them. Fantastic. I suppose I'll include this in my list of unanswered questions. You're the source of this? He made an effort to lighten the atmosphere. The tone was clearly not lightened when the speaker said, "Listen, I need you to swear to me that this stays a secret." I can't. He could see the fear in their eyes as they said, "Iruka, I will protect him. If this gets out, his life is going to end, and I will not allow that to happen. For the sake of Naruto and myself, I therefore ask that you keep this a secret. If I do this very illegal thing for you, you have to give me answers as well." They said, "Fine," and extended their good hand to him. He shook it. Being a ninja of Konoha meant doing things to keep the village safe, even if it meant compromising his own morals in the process. This was by no means how he wanted to get more information out of them, but if Naruto was using the powers of the Nine Tails, he couldn't let an unknown risk be his parent. In order to give Rozu more time to recover, Iruka had tried to give them a reasonable amount of time before pestering them for more information. Now that he was fairly sure he would get the information from them, he thought he could wait a little patiently, but after 2 whole days of waiting, he discovered that was not the case. Fortunately, he had devised a clever way to create a situation that would force them to give him the information. He drew the young scamp aside and said, "Naruto, don't forget. Today is the parent-teacher conference. If you don't tell Rozu about it, I'll know." Iruka did not like the tone he used as he walked out of the room. Not if you get knocked out before then and get amnesia before then. Should we all discuss it with our parents as well, Iruka-sensei? When Sakura asked this, the class let out a collective groan. He said, looking out the doorway to check if Naruto was still within hearing distance. Nope, no other conferences today. Will there ever be more conferences? The class cheered when the teacher said, "No, probably not. Just make sure to study for the test this Friday." Iruka searched his desk for papers after that child-heavy roller coaster, and before he could begin his real plan, he had to make it look like a parent-teacher conference. Why doesn't Naruto give me any assignments? He had now opened 3 drawers on his desk and discovered nothing. I believe he turns them in. Are you okay, Iruka? Mizuki stared at him as he tore the desk apart, a little scared and perplexed. No, I'm not okay. He rummaged through some floor papers and said, "Naruto has not submitted any assignments." He has, indeed. Where are they then? Since the second half of the alphabet is represented by his last name, Uzumaki, his belongings are in the other cabinet. The last desk drawer stopped at R, so Iruka slowly got up, walked over to the drawer, and opened the SV section. He looked at the drawers he'd turned over to find any paper, and his embarrassment increased when he saw the early parts of the alphabets. "Oh. How are you doing, buddy?" "I am completely fine, I just am distracted." "By this parent-teacher conference. We're doing those, huh? This year, I have to do the Uchihas, fuck?" No, just the one. We have a single parent-teacher conference, so why are you preoccupied?" "You know, it's with Naruto's new mom, so like, there's a lot to cover." "Oh he forgot that Mizuki might want to attend." "Hold on. Naruto is both a mother and a new mother?" "No, just one new mom." "Since when? I appreciate you not knowing as well." "Oh, hold on, are you aware now? Did you know prior to me?" "Yes, as if everyone knew. How could you have missed that?" He actually acknowledged that he had kept that information from me. This person is a whole ass. "Who happened here?" Inquiring about his classes? "Why the death did that occur? Dude, you were there." Iruka hesitated. He vaguely recalled Mizuki telling him that someone had entered and was posing as Naruto's mother. He was merely organizing some paperwork at the time, so he let Mizuki speak to them. "You mentioned that it was a joke. I believed it to be, however. They returned the following day and were upset that I had written, fart class, on the paper." "You mentioned that he had a class on art." Mizuki chuckled and said, "Yeah, I did." "What kept you from telling me about them?" Naruto said it'd be funny, he was right. But still, it was kind of relevant. He approached Iruka and took some papers from her hand, saying, "Dude, I'm not an arc. But I will definitely be here to tell his mom how bad he's doing in class." Mizuki couldn't attend the conference, so Iruka refocused and said, "Or, you just let me handle it and take the night off." "No way, this is going to be the literal best conference ever." "I dunno, I think it'll be really boring. I apologize, are you crazy? There is not a single aspect of this that I can think of that won't be tremendously enjoyable." "Like what?" "This parent threatened to harm the Hokage by beating someone at the orphanage without cause. I only get to observe because you are in charge of the conference." "I don't think it'll be anything like that." "Well, I do." As the door opened and they walked into the room, Iruka's hopes of receiving information today diminished because he had no idea how to persuade Mizuki to not stay for the conference and Rozu could arrive at any time. The shirt with the badly cut sleeves only made Rozu look even more out of place. "Hey Ruka. Hey fart guy. Parent is here. Let's move quickly because my pain medication isn't working properly." "Oh hell yes," Mizuki said, bringing 2 more chairs to the desk and eagerly taking a seat. "But you know, I don't think we both have to be here for this." Today had to be the one day in Mizuki's life that he wanted to put in more work. "You're right, take the night buddy, I can do this alone." "Yeah, and besides I already talk to you like every day." Rozu was now impeding his idea. "You see? Oh, and you can go watch Naruto for me since I left him with Kakashi, and whoa boy does that seem like a bad idea." "Why would you do that? My god." "Well, I was coming here to talk with you, and I saw Kakashi, and I, being low on options, left Naruto with him." Iruka was caught between wanting to know this information at last and the much more responsible belief that Kakashi was unfit to be trusted with a small child. He gave in to his internal argument and said, "We can just postpone this parent-teacher conference till you're not on drugs. So let's go find Naruto." Iruka could tell that Mizuki had come to a realization when he slightly widened his eyes and said, "What? Actually I can just go grab Naruto while you take over here. I am still on drugs regardless of who is here for the conference in case that's not clear." Mizuki got up and walked past Iruka to the door, saying, "What, who cares? I totally see what's going on here, you could have just said so, man." "What?" At this point, Iruka had no idea what was happening. "We're holding a conference, then?" Rozu looked at them both vaguely. Mizuki gave him a wink as she said, "Yeah, you and Ruka here. I'm sure you can handle it without me." "Well, okay. I didn't win Wingman of the Year for nothing, bro," Mizuki said in a final whisper before leaving. What? No, that was to him." "Who?" "Mizuki, the other instructor." "Who?" "Fart guy." "Ah, fart guy." The perplexed atmosphere surrounding them appeared to fade and then reappeared briefly. "So what do we do at this conference now?" "Well, typically I go over how the student you're the parent of is doing in their classes and answer any questions you've got about their progress. Given who my child is, I'll assume he's doing poorly. Yes, his grades aren't very good overall, but they have been getting better lately. Probably as a result of some out-of-school guidance." "Are you claiming that Might Guy is improving my son's academic performance?" "Okay, taking that question at face value, I don't understand your shock. He is a very well-respected Jonin of Konoha. Fair, but, they said after pausing for a while, he isn't exactly imparting wisdom. But he is probably imparting something to Naruto. Mostly the importance of faking being knocked out, but go on. In any case, I won't minimize any lessons Guy is teaching Naruto, even though I didn't specifically mean him. Having a parent to support him seems to be doing wonders for his grades, which is what I primarily meant. Is this related to the way he consistently deceives me into completing the assignments? He's so damn convincing that it's an accident, I promise. I apologize. Are you helping him with his homework? Probably a lot of it now, but not all of it. He became quite skilled at fabricating stories about parent sheets and practice tests. And you didn't consider that to be especially suspicious? Well, no, I never went to school. I don't know what is a normal assignment. You didn't attend school. I'm amazing, and I can do a one-handed handstand? Check it out. No school is for losers. And before he could stop them, they crashed into some desks. Wait, you should definitely not do that, he watched in horror. I'm all right. Given their current position, Rozu did not appear to be in any good condition. I landed on the broken arm and it absorbed most of the impact, the statement read. Should we return to the hospital? When you say, we, do you mean the 4 yous I'm seeing or just you and me? He began lifting them off the ground and said, well, that answers that. Come on, the concussion you just got should be checked out right away, he said. At least you can tell Fart Guy the conference went so well I had to limp home. I won't because I don't like the connotations of that. Which one? I'll just go ahead and say all of them. Yeah, that's fair. During the journey, they relied heavily on him. Hopefully, he hadn't just witnessed them break another limb. The journey took much longer than he had hoped, and he had to stop several times to ensure they didn't faint on him. An hour later, he managed to get them to the front desk of the hospital. Am I able to assist you? The receptionist quickly inspected both of them. Yes, I believe my friend has suffered a minor concussion and may have broken a leg. An additional street brawl? At least she appeared to recognize Rozu. These parent-teacher conferences are way more dangerous than I expected, is something Rozu said in the midst of all the confusion that strongly implicated him. It helped that he had informed his students about a test that wasn't actually made, which meant he had to make a new test in the middle of a unit in 2 days. The days after the conference that was unquestionably the second worst Iruka had ever had were surprisingly calm. Having learned a lesson about patience, he tried to just ignore the information that he was fairly certain would be coming his way. During the test, Sakura raised her hand 5 times. Iruka-sensei said, Question 4 has been repeated in 5 different places. The phrase, just cross out all the repeats of it, seemed to have been poorly executed by him. Should we only mark the repetitions of question 4 or all of the repeated questions? All of them. What about questions that ask the same thing but are technically distinct? How many people are that way? All but the first 5. Everyone just, pass the tests forward. This wasn't his proudest moment. You all get A's, and I guess you all can leave early since this test was all that was planned for the day. Iruka frowned as he looked at the pile of papers in his hands, knowing that no one would ever know about this error. A group of kids threw Sakura into the air as they ran out of the room, applauding that she had earned them an A&a-half day. Are you smoking in here, Iruka? Mizuki walked into an empty classroom that had a slight odor of burning paper. He leaned back in a chair and stared icily at the ceiling, saying, Nope, must be your imagination. A follow-up inquiry. Where were all of the pupils? Home. Yeah. What made them all return home? It's a lengthy tale. Do you require anything? Well, I guess not since apparently all the kids are supposed to be leaving. Great, I'll just be here, wallowing. Dude, you don't have to mope just because you had one parent-teacher conference where someone got hospitalized. Surprisingly, I was able to put that out of my mind and was moping for another equally embarrassing reason. I appreciate you reminding me. I can now mope twice as much. Mizuki was a lot of things, but he wasn't the type of person who could handle that, so he left Iruka to mope, and mope he did. The minutes passed into hours, and soon it was time for the academy classes to start, and after 10 more minutes, he heard a knock on the door. I'm still wallowing, Mizuki, please have some respect. Rozu had chosen to simply knock and had said, if it makes you feel better, the doctor called it the most mild concussion she'd ever seen. He mentioned you might be doing this, but I thought it was another one of his jokes. Is that advantageous? Their presence temporarily stopped him from moping. I think it is, but I'm also the one who got the concussion thinking it was a good idea to do that handstand on drugs. Maybe this time you could do it without falling over because you seem to be using drugs much less now? I have been strictly forbidden from trying it by the doctor, but I did so anyways and can in fact do one without falling still. Well, that's one burning question put to rest, thank you. Oh good, I have a new one to add to the pot then. Is it another vow to secrecy type thing? Shockingly no, it's just a simple question about you wanting to get some dinner? Like, at all? Well, okay. Specifically, would you want to get dinner with me? More specifically tonight? Oh the question caught Iruka a little off guard. I guess so, is there some occasion or? Like one part an apology for the whole conference fiasco, and 2 parts just a fun thing to do on a Friday night you know. Is Naruto coming? No, he's hanging out with Sasuke, so I thankfully don't have to leave him with Kakashi again. He is? Well, I think so. A crow spoke to my mind earlier and told me that. So either he was kidnapped or he's with Sasuke. Is there a single part of your life that is normal? Hey, I'm just like everyone else. I put my pants on one leg at a time. Another question struck from the pile. They looked at him and pressed 2 fingers together, asking, so is that a yes? Oh right. Yeah, dinner sounds good. Maybe you can fill me in on this, crow? Well, it was like, they attempted to estimate the bird's size with their hands, this big? And it spoke to your mind? Yeah, I looked in its little bird eyes and boom, mind voice. Sounded a lot like that one guy. That one guy? The statement, yeah that guy, he's like, is another estimate from them. Yay hi? Iruka, who was becoming increasingly worried, asked, a bird spoke to your mind in the voice of some nameless guy? And said Naruto was with Sasuke? That is a good summation of what I said, yes. Should we go check on that? Oh for sure, but first things first, is like 6 good for dinner or is that too early? He rose from the chair and retrieved his vest, saying, 6 works fine, but we should really check on this like now. Yeah right, is like sushi good or are you not a seafood guy? His response was, yes sure, as he pushed them out the door. Whatever you want, let's go find your possibly kidnapped son now. For sure. They stopped being pushed by him and started to walk normally. But like, are you allergic to anything? Iruka was becoming extremely agitated due to their lack of urgency. Oh my god, we can talk about this literally any time. Iruka solved this particular mystery surprisingly quickly. The truth was revealed by the magic bird, and Naruto was in the Uchiha compound with Sasuke. The mystery of the magic bird wasn't solved until Itachi returned with some snacks for the boys. He put down a tray and approached them both, saying, oh, I see you got my magic bird. Rozu turned to Iruka and gestured to Itachi, saying, I knew it sounded familiar. This is that one guy the first was talking about before. You could have just said it sounded like Itachi, I know who he is. Your name's Itachi? It is. As Iruka asked, you can recognize his voice, but you don't know his name? He felt a blood vessel in his head nearly burst. It didn't really come up, I don't know that other teacher's name either. Ignoring this, was his response as he inhaled deeply to relax. Itachi, why did you take Naruto? He pointed to Rozu when he said, Sasuke told me they had a half day, so I picked up Naruto as well instead of our plan from before. You two had a plan. I was going to pick them both up after work and then meet up with Itachi later so they could have a sleepover. Iruka liked to think of himself as a cool-headed, collected individual, but today that was being put to the test. He inhaled deeply once more, fighting the impulse to erupt and start screaming. He made the decision to go through this list of inquiries and ask, could your magic bird not convey the whole of that message? It probably could, yes. He turned to face Rozu and asked, and could you, maybe have mentioned these plans earlier before saying Naruto was possibly kidnapped? I certainly could have. Itachi added a new element to this whole mess. The Mizuki factor. Did the other instructor not let you know I was taking Naruto? Itachi asked. He mentioned checking with you since I wasn't supposed to be taking them then, but said it was fine after coming back. No, he did not. Given that it made no sense at all, Rozu sounded incredibly certain that, probably because you were wallowing, a smart guy wouldn't disturb that deep of wallow. Admittedly, I was quite upset when Mizuki stopped in to talk with me. Well, I'd say this is a solid crisis averted. Naruto, did you pack your toothbrush? He shouted. I did. From where he and Sasuke were playing. Then I'm good here. When should I come by tomorrow? I usually take Sasuke out to train around 7, so anytime after then works. If you don't want Naruto tagging along, stop by before then. It'll mean I'll be stuck with Guy all alone, but he deserves a week off from that. Then 10 or so. They said, great, see you then, and turned to leave. I can find you for dinner later, I guess. They called on Iruka, who returned to his zone. Yeah, wait, do you know where I live? You should stop by my place actually. After establishing this ambiguous dinner plan, Iruka and Rozu parted ways. A local fart guy was there to greet him when he returned to his home. Okay, so, was the first thing Mizuki said before Iruka could question him about Itachi's remarks. I heard from Naruto's mom that you were going to be asked for some dinner today. That did happen, yes. Bu. He was shaking Iruka a little now. Dude, Naruto is staying with the Uchikas, do you know what that means? He said. That I'm going to eat dinner with Naruto's mom? He whispered, leaning in, you're going to get laid. Iruka pushed him back a little and opened his door, saying, nope, nah huh. That is not at all what it means. Naturally, Mizuki followed him. Bro, I had my doubts after the whole conference thing. But they asked you out for dinner, you're so going to the bone zone. Iruka surrounded that with air quotes. First of all, they didn't ask me out. They just invited me for dinner for a fun Friday. And the fun part of this Friday will be? Not that? I'm just saying if it's me reading the signs, and it is, they all point to you and Naruto's mom bumping uglies tonight. In the hopes that he would notice the irritated tone, Iruka asked, how many different ways do you have for saying that? Like I'd say as many as a number you may become acquainted to later today. As Iruka waited for the number, she became aware that Mizuki required some sort of reminder. What 69. As Mizuki continued to hammer innuendos, he moaned. He simply searched through his clothes for something more casual to wear rather than interacting with any of them. Mizuki pointed to the jeans and shirt Iruka had chosen and asked, is this what you're planning to wear on the one-way train to Pound Town? No, this is what I will be wearing to dinner. We said the same thing. No, we did not. He took Iruka's clothes and walked back to the dresser, saying, listen, I know you're not an expert in the dating scene. So just let your homeboy handle this. First of all, rude. Secondly, it's not a date. Mizuki changed into a new outfit in a mere 2 minutes. Iruka didn't like it for a mere 5 seconds. No, come on. What is a better date night look than this? That is just a fishnet undershirt and a pair of jeans that were too small for me but I forgot to return. I repeat, what is a better look? Maybe a real shirt to start with? You put on a vest over it as a compromise? I won't wear that in public. We're going to a restaurant. I'll be the target of ridicule. I understand, but sometimes a good appearance comes at the expense of something else. Suffering now in order to make the world better later is what it means to be a trendsetter. To start, I don't think this looks good. Second of all, it's not about that. Are you interested in joining the fucktown population? It wasn't funny at all. Additionally, that is not taking place. Avoid that perspective. When it came time to go to Rozu's, fortunately, it was dark enough that he didn't think anyone saw him. He knocked on the door, folded his arms over his chest, and waited. Iruka was at the end of his rope, and Mizuki obviously had no intention of letting up. Rozu opened the door and gave him a look that said, wow, you're early. Iruka made a mental note to get Mizuki back as he stood there, a little cold and extremely embarrassed. There were a few moments of silence as they checked his outfit, drank in the sight of their son's teacher wearing skinny jeans and a fishnet shirt, and the silence was broken by their uncontrollable laughter. So a fire destroyed all of your clothing? After returning with takeout, Rozu had sat through his brief explanation of his attire. But somehow, this is one of the only outfits that survived? Yes. You could have told me earlier, this didn't have to be a today thing. He was trying to sell this lie by saying, no, that would be rude to turn down an invitation. Plus, what's more fun than this outfit? I hope some sushi that you aren't allergic to will help, but wow, I could feel the bile in your mouth as you said that. Oh, I am deathly allergic to seafood actually. Shit. Was their dejected expression as they gazed at the 2 takeout boxes. Taking one of the containers from them, he said, that was a joke. I apologize, I probably should have read the room a little better. They went and got some glasses and napkins and said, I didn't plan ahead for dining in, so we have water and milk. The switch from your tragic house fire story to joking about a deadly allergy is pretty dramatic. I'll take some water given the choices. When they opened the carton to sniff it, they said, smart man, the milk is kind of, oh no, it's extremely past expiration. Iruka decided not to pretend to have an allergic reaction to the sushi, even though he really wanted to, and after a few minutes of eating in total silence, he realized that perhaps they should talk about something. Of course, he had no idea what to talk about, so he discreetly searched around for something to start a conversation. Rozu got drinks after Iruka cleared the table a little. He came to the conclusion that, so that cast is pretty cool huh? If they were aware that saying, it sure is keeping my bones wrapped up nicely, was strange, they chose not to display it. Ah, cool cool. Love it when casts do that. Are you frequently wearing a cast? Fortunately for him, Rozu didn't seem to be any better at striking up a conversation. Can't say I do. No, shame. It really is. He assumed it would be extremely rude to try and interrogate them during Fun Friday, but he literally had no idea what else to talk about, so he sneakily peeked over at them again when he heard some crinkling, and this time, the silence was noticeably more awkward than the first. They were, somewhat discreetly, reading a piece off the side of the table. So, how frequently do you visit here? He was aware that they were reading from the paper as they said this. You mean your house here? They said, lowering their gaze again. I meant to ask if you have any pets. No, can't say I do. So they you probably couldn't tell me names of these pets then. No, I couldn't. How is success to be quantified? And who do you know is the most successful by that metric? Who provided this list to you? I asked Kakashi and he gave me a book titled 250 Quality Conversation Starters, so I just tore a page out of it without looking it over. We really don't know how to do this, huh? Wow, he said, even though he was only one step away from doing that. It's really hard to avoid talking to you about things like Naruto, murder, or secrets. After all, what else are people meant to discuss? We could discuss the game at any time. The big game, oh my god, how could I overlook it? What about you? I'm a huge supporter of the left team. I'm partial to the right team, but try not to get too invested since they do suck. True, ever since they lost that one good player, it's been all downhill for the right team. I understand. As if supporting a team that consistently loses games is really difficult. But since everyone loves the game, we have to root. Gosh, I really hope no one. I really enjoy watching and supporting the game. Me too. After that, the two burst out laughing. Iruka had never seen anyone else so skilled at pretending to know things about a sport. Since he was obviously out of topics to discuss other than Naruto, murder, or secrets, he simply tried to endure the laughter as long as he could. Okay, I think, they said, still laughing a little. We should stop laughing now, it's been like 3 minutes. Yeah, that's probably, he said, suppressing his impersonation of laughter, a good call. Should we only discuss Naruto? Rozu didn't seem to have anything left to fill the air. Perhaps we won't visit the hospital this time, and I could try to update you on his academic progress? Well, no guarantees, I'm only completely sober, so anything could happen. Are you curious about his academic performance? Yeah, absolutely. Tell me about his grades. As they uttered the word, they arched an eyebrow. They are kind of bad, they are improving though, but overall very bad. Well, perhaps I can assist him with any academic difficulties he may be having, such as math. We don't actually teach math at the academy. Well, I spend a lot of money on 2 books, but what exactly does he learn from them? It's mostly history lessons and tactical stuff. We also teach them to do a lot of basic taijutsu and other training. We have them learn ninjutsu in the last year. Wow, that's, seemed to be their only response. What did you think we taught the kids exactly? Again, not entirely sure since I never went to school, but like, the kid I used to watch was tutored in like math, science, geography and things like that. I just kind of forgot that the whole train children to be ninjas thing was your whole deal. There's the civilian school, for the kids who don't want to be ninjas, which is kind of what I assumed you went to. Nope, I was a cool kid and didn't go to school. But you were for some reason left in charge of a kid who did? What, no, I wouldn't watch some lame kid who went to school, she just had a private tutor. Iruka had attempted to resist, but they were now luring him in with this juicy information. Not to derail this, but could you give me a little more details on that? The school stuff or the kid stuff? Both. They pondered and scratched the back of their head. Well, I dunno, I didn't really need to get formal training to become a ninja. My family technically immigrated to Yukigakure from the Land of Water before I was born, and my parents were ninja there. Iruka wished he had brought a pen and paper to Fun Friday now. Okay, so I now have 100 more questions. Well, please keep them in your skinny jeans for now, I still have to finish answering the first one. They are not, fine whatever, was his way of avoiding upsetting them as they voluntarily gave him information. So anyways, my parents decided to just teach me some basics. I think my dad was from a clan or something. He didn't really get too far into it before some other things happened. Anyways, instead of going to school I just had to take the genin exam they had and aced it because I'm very cool, hold the applause. It was incredibly boring for I dunno 3 years? I got promoted to a chunin, and then got the mission of a lifetime, babysitting some kid. Uruka sat up a bit straighter to demonstrate her Chunin dominance and asked, "You're a Chunin?" "Oh no, I got moved to a special division once I started being a babysitter. Sort of like the Anbu here but like, so much lamer." He slouched a bit more, clearly annoyed that he was outranked in this situation. "Did you defect then? Since you're very noticeably not there currently." "That's kind of complicated. Depending on who you ask, I am a defector, yes. Personally, I don't see it that way." "And how do you see it?" "I am loyal. Well, I was loyal to the real ruler of the land of snow. I'm sure if he was still alive he would be fairly annoyed with me for being here and not elsewhere though." "So you're saying..." Uruka was able to piece together enough information, but overall she was a little lost. "You're a servant of the land of snow's daimyo?" "I was. He then died and gave me a final mission, which I have since been kicked off of." "By who?" "That's not too important really." "It feels very important." "Fine. He asked me to keep his daughter safe, which I initially kind of failed out, so big shout out to Kakashi for saving my ass there. After a good few years of traveling around to keep her safe, she decided I was too overprotective, and using my dead dad as an excuse to ruin her life, both of which were true." "Alright. Rozu." "Yes? When you started this story, could you not have just skipped to the part where you were tasked with protecting the daughter of a daimyo?" "I certainly could have, but then you'd ask about the rest of the details leading up to it." "Okay, that is fair," was his nosy way of saying. "But why exactly are you here then?" "Because I was fired. Did you even listen to my story?" "How can you be fired from that? Why didn't you just ignore her and stick around?" "Oh, I did. We got into a very big fight, and the best course of action was for me to split off." "Why?" "Okay, look, I've already told you way too much, so I can't spill all the beans about this. Nothing against you, but this is kind of a big secret." The statement, well, when you put it like that, made it clear to him that details about a land's surviving princess would be highly private. "I see your point." "Good, now I do have to threaten you into secrecy because if my literal life mission is jeopardized I will kill you." Who would I even tell? He considered the threat to be unappreciative. "I don't know. Someone, so just don't tell anyone." "I won't." "Good." A silence descended upon them for the third time in a single evening. Uruka made an effort to comprehend what they had just discussed. Although it was much more than he had anticipated, he was happy to have it all up front. There was one thing that stood out as particularly strange. "Wait, why did you call out Kakashi? What part might he have played in this?" "Do you really want that part of the story right now? It's quite lengthy." They didn't appear to be very reluctant to share it. "I might as well go all the way since I'm already this far into your hidden past life, right?" Naturally, he didn't give that sentence much thought. "Wow, you're already asking about going all the way after just one enjoyable Friday? Perhaps slow your roll a little bit there," they said, raising an eyebrow at him. "What?" Now he realized what he had said. "No, I didn't mean to imply that you knew every detail of your story, not with you." "Well, don't worry, with phrasing like that you're not hitting any bases today. To begin with, I didn't want to hit any of them." Mizuki's earlier remarks had put him on edge, and this conversation was now attempting to push him away. "Well, now my feelings are a little hurt, so the bases have been withdrawn from the table." "But hang on, were they ever on the table?" He was unable to accept that Mizuki might have been correct. "That is another secret for me to know and not tell you, and if you'd like the rest of the story I'll require some drinks now. I can't go outside like this, though." They gave him a snort of laughter when he got up to reveal his attire again. "God, it literally gets funnier every time I see it," they said while opening a closet. "I can give you a jacket. It might be a bit small, but it will cover more of you at least." "Why didn't you offer this sooner?" He would have accepted it with pleasure. "Must have slipped my mind." They shrugged half-heartedly, adding the jacket to the shrug. "Sure," he said, putting it on quickly. Although it was not completely closed, it was sufficiently covered for him to feel comfortable leaving. He didn't have to creep through the village's alleys now that he was a little more covered up, and it only took a few minutes to reach a liquor store. One of the many, he now realized, that filled the village. When he unexpectedly ran into a familiar face. Well, eyeball. Oh hey, Kakashi was in line for the checkout as well. Uruka pointed to his drink basket and said, "I see you're also having a fun Friday." "Oh, is that what we now refer to as drinking by yourself and crying?" Nothing was revealed to Uruka by the one tone he used when speaking. "No, I meant to say that I received an invitation to a fun Friday." He had completely lost his depths now. "Oh, good for you." Though unsure of what to say in this situation, Uruka felt compelled to speak, and a sudden epiphany provided him with the perfect response. Are you a pet owner? This epiphany simply echoed what Rozu had previously stated. It's good that you read 250 quality conversation starters as well. I particularly like number 167. Which themed restaurant is the most bizarre that you are aware of? He had naturally forgotten that he had given them the book, but he said, "Hey, yeah, I really like it. What are you doing tonight?" "Oh, crying and drinking alone." Uruka had assumed that was a dark humor joke. "Ah," she said, "sure sounds like fun. Only on Fridays." "Next please," the clerk said, calling Kakashi forward. Uruka had obviously ruined that social interaction and was at a loss for how to salvage it, so he just waited in silence while he was rung up. As Kakashi finished at the register, he had a genuine epiphany. "Do you want to attend Fun Friday instead? Instead of your other plans," he began by inviting them. "Yeah, I can always just fit in my usual plans later in the night," Kakashi said, reaching for his bag. "Excellent." The clerk was now addressing Uruka, saying, "Sir, could you please put your items on the counter? There are others in line?" "Oh yes, sorry," he said, quickly doing as she said. He waited with Kakashi while the clerk rang him up, and after he paid, they left together and went back to Rozu's place. Only when he arrived did he realize that inviting Kakashi to someone else's place could be extremely impolite, but he ignored that thought and knocked on the door. "Oh nice you're back," they said as they opened it and turned to face each other. "If it's okay, I decided to invite Kakashi after running into him." He made an inward grimace. "Whoa, you cancelled Uruka's other plans but not mine?" They gave him a pout. Kakashi went inside after saying, "Sorry, but I can only cancel crying alone drunk for a fellow leaf ninja." "You asked Kakashi to come?" Uruka was surprised by that. He entered as well, and Rozu closed the door after saying, "Yeah, I asked him first since I saw him earlier in the day." "Wait, was his refusal the only reason I was invited?" "What? No way. PSH. I'm unconvinced." "Oh nice milk," Kakashi said, noticing the carton that had been left out earlier. "Avoid drinking that." They rushed over to rob him of it. For a brief moment, Uruka heard something in Kakashi's voice, but he soon realized that he had most likely put off hearing about Rozu's past. Even though, "but I love milk," was a very subtle statement, Uruka was certain of it. As the night went on and the drinks continued to be poured, he saw a side of Kakashi that he had never expected to see, and the two of them saw a side of Uruka that they had not anticipated because he drank far too much too quickly. The three of them drank and engaged in a mix of extremely awkward and somehow decent conversation. Rozu was sitting in the bathtub when he threw up into the toilet, saying, "I'd say this counts as a net good fun Friday." "Agreed." Kakashi while tinkering with the dishwasher. Uruka gave them both a feeble thumbs up, promising to control them if they ever did this again. Uruka acknowledged that he had shunned two of his three friends out of embarrassment following the events of Friday. Over the course of the week, the third friend had become too bothersome for him to ignore. Mizuki shifted his chair to the opposite side of the desk and struck a pose Uruka had come to despise as they observed the students mingling outside for lunch. "Please tell me what happened," was his tone, which had only gotten more annoying on the 100th time. Uruka, "No idea what you mean," as he sat back in his chair and ate some skewered meat. "Come on please. If you got some because of my outfit selection I earned the right to know. Doesn't really ring any bells with me. Just tell me if you made it to Bone City Population 2 please bro." "Only 2? Mizuki slammed his hands on the desk and asked, "What do you mean only 2? What do you mean?" "Beats me. I know for a fact it does not." Withholding the information had become a sort of sadistic pleasure for him. Uruka had chosen to postpone a real prank because of Mizuki's intense curiosity and his reaction. He sat back in the chair and pouted, saying, "I'd tell you if you helped me score. Like any upstanding bro would." He immediately leaned forward once more and asked, "Oh, is that all you wanted to know? You were right. That pachinko machine by the ice cream shop is like really easy to win, so I scored a free double scoop." Goddammit. He got up so quickly that the chair toppled over. "While you're up, can you tell the students to start heading back inside?" He pouted as he walked to the door, saying, "You're the worst person I've ever had the displeasure of knowing. Love you too, buddy." There was little fuss for the remainder of the day. Whenever he could do it covertly, Mizuki would give him sour looks. He moved into his new spot just out of sight so Rozu couldn't see him when it was time for the students to leave for home. Even though he knew it wasn't the appropriate way to behave after throwing up in their house, he didn't care. Shoji pointed at Uruka and yelled, "He's over here," to someone who was out of his line of sight, causing Uruka to panic. Rozu gave him a fist bump and approached Iruka while brandishing finger guns at him. "Aw nice, thanks kid." Iruka noticed that Mizuki had turned completely to observe what was going to happen. This would be the final day that he didn't have a log ready to switch with each school day. Mizuki dove into a bush next to them as they said, "So listen, no sweat about what happened on Friday. I mean seriously, it happens to loads of people. Gosh, I remember the first time I was with two people guzzlin'." Iruka abruptly interrupted them at what was likely the worst part of the sentence, saying, "So about literally anything else." "Oh shit, right, like I said, no sweat about that, but what kind of moves have you guys taught Naruto?" "Moves? Yeah, like, I know you mentioned you didn't really teach something till the last year? I definitely forgot, cause boy did we get smashed after that talk." "Oh he said, watching the bush in which Mizuki was shaking when he heard the frantic sound of a pen on paper. "Yeah, we don't teach them ninjutsu till then." "Also like, he's got no school moves. Still not sure what you mean by moves, but no, we haven't covered any jutsu with him." "Ah, gotcha. Now like, was the direction he didn't like going with this question. If you got suckered into teaching him some moves, what would you teach him?" "Did you get suckered into teaching him some moves?" "Yeah, apparently Itachi teaches Sasuke cool moves, such as shooting fireballs. So like, is that a good one?" Iruka hesitated. He was aware that the Uchiha had their own ways, but that still seemed strange. "No, probably not." Rozu gave him a strange multi-shrug and said, Cool. What about like, I dunno, a water clone?" "Definitely no, he still hasn't learned the basic clone technique." Right. What about, snow beast assault? That seems pretty basic." "What? No. Well, okay, I honestly have no idea what that jutsu is, but we don't really have snow here." "Yeah, I've noticed, and pretty much all of my moves use snow. So I'm a little low on moves to teach him. Could you maybe help me?" When Iruka offered Naruto after-school assistance, she felt a little uncomfortable because, "I already am his teacher. I don't really have too many other things I can show him." As they approached him uncomfortably, they said, "Please, I have backed myself into a corner here. I can offer you like literally anything you want in return for help, please." He raised his hands in an attempt to fend them off and refuse once more before a catastrophe struck. "He'll do it," Mizuki exclaimed as she jumped out of the bush and joined him. After all, what kind of teacher turns down a student who wants to learn more? Or his parent who is literally begging for him? Was not how Iruka liked him to say it. "It's not exactly right for me to offer him extra lessons and no other student." Says who? Our contracts. Rozu looked for a way out of this situation. "Okay, well, what if instead you came to show me a move or two and then supervise while I teach him it?" Mizuki pounced on him, saying, "Boom, our contracts don't mention anything about his teachers assisting a parent, do they? He would never again be able to present a seminar on bucking peer pressure." "Oh my god, fine, I will help you and supervise as you show Naruto. But just this one time." When Rozu pulled him into a quick hug, he groaned and Mizuki gave him a 2 thumbs up. "Yes, oh my god, thank you so much," he exclaimed. "You are literally a lifesaver right now." Knowing that Mizuki would only become more obnoxious from now on, he complained, "Does that count if I hang myself later? Is there like a sign-out sheet for training grounds or something? Should I just bring him here later or what?" Iruka didn't feel like showing them the sign-out sheets today, so she said, "Just meet me here in an hour or so." After saying, "All right, again, thank you so much," they hurried to pick up Naruto and leave. "Dude." Mizuki caught him by the shoulders as soon as they were out of sight. "Guzzling? You guzzled something?" Mizuki kept shouting things like, "I really need more friends," as he attempted to finish the rest of his tasks for the day. "Like literally anything, bro," Mizuki said, snatching him once more. "That means literally only one thing's ever. If you say sex it's sex, dude, of course it is." As Iruka attempted to finish filing some papers, Mizuki moved behind him and placed his arms over his. "And like, what's better than this dynamic, huh? When they mess up on the hand seals, you guide them through it like this and boom. Straight shot to Bone Town." Mizuki. "Yes? Please let me go. I dunno, man, I think you could use some hands-on guiding for filing these papers." If was impossible for him to say without letting out a sigh. "I play along. Will you help me get this work finished up?" Yeah. In some way, that last hour of work would be the worst hour of his life. He wrote that he would later apologize to his head parents, but he felt like dying while being guided through the process of cleaning a glass room and filing papers. Rozu and Naruto arrived 10 minutes early, so whatever higher power was out there felt sorry for him. "Go get M. Tiger," Mizuki firmly patted him on the back. Iruka took a deep breath to get ready for the Uzumakis before going outside. I will be late tomorrow as I'll be drinking to forget all of this, she said. Iruka is showing me a move. Naruto appeared to be quite displeased. You said it was someone who knew tons of cool moves. And I'm sure Iruka does. Rozu had changed into their training attire, anticipating Mizuki's comment the following day. I am a Chunin Naruto, they don't give just anyone these vests, you know. Fine, what move are you gonna show us? The clone technique. The words, boo, made Naruto very happy. It is a fundamental technique that all ninjas should know. It's lame. Sasuke's learning the fireball jutsu. Well, I'm sorry he's learning that from his brother and not me. Okay. How about, Rozu moved to separate them. We do the clone one and then a cool one. What's the cool one going to be? I want to know before making any kind of deal, otherwise it's entrapment. Iruka was shocked by his abrupt, yet accurate, outburst and asked, where did you learn that? Mom. Why? I like my boy to be prepared in any kind of deal scenario. Well, the cool one will be, indeed. Iruka possessed very few jutsu, and none of them were particularly appealing to Naruto. The waterball jutsu. Rozu blurted out the name of a technique, which will be super cool since it beats the fireball jutsu. Thought Naruto as Iruka looked at them in alarm. Acceptable. Iruka attempted to hide the fact that he didn't want to teach Naruto a technique that was actually harmful by saying, of course, you might not be able to get the clone technique down in one day. So the waterball one might come another day. Fine, but I want to see it today at least. Iruka sincerely hoped that Rozu was aware of that jutsu, but he was not. Yeah, of course, sure thing, no problem. But for now, the floor is Iruka's. Iruka swiftly flashed through the 3-hand seals for it as 2 more of him emerged, saying, the clone technique is one of the most basic techniques out there. The clones aren't tangible, so it's mostly used for distractions. This seems really easy. The waterball jutsu will be mine today. Naruto sloppily made a smoke puff and went through the hand seals. After the smoke cleared, Iruka turned to face the lone Naruto and said, I'm not so sure about that. Okay, I'm going to show Rozu how to do it now, then you can learn from them. Naruto sulked over his failure and sat down, saying, fine, whatever, I wasn't even trying that time. Rozu also went through the hand seals and created a cloud of smoke, saying, don't worry, kid, not everyone is a natural genius like me. He looked at the portion of a clone they created and said, well, genius might not be the right word. How'd you get it to only make feet? They made a familiar attempt to save face by saying, I wasn't even really trying, so this is like a really good result. Just watch me again, he said, moving more slowly through the 3 seals. Ram, snake, tiger. The words, Ram, snake, tiger, were what they followed him with. Good, now just put some chakra into it. They went through the seals once more, sticking out their tongues slightly in concentration as they said, right, just gotta put chakra into it. Well, Iruka said, glancing at the floating arm they created this time. I suppose it's an improvement. Listen, it's been a while. Please refrain from passing judgment. They made another attempt. Mom, keep it up. 2 feet this time. Surprisingly, Naruto was upbeat when he said that. They were able to create a clone's entire lower body after 40 more attempts, and Iruka was beginning to doubt that they had ever been a higher-ranked ninja than him. Are you giving it enough chakra? I am putting an amount of chakra into it. Have you attempted adding more? You know, I hadn't thought of that, they said, glaring at him briefly before the smoke covered them. He looked at the knees they produced and said, that was actually worse than the last attempt. Hey, this is much more difficult than it appears. His only response was to make 2 new clones of himself and gaze into their eyes. Okay, well, shut up. As they complained to him, he rolled his eyes, unable to believe that they had told him a ridiculous tale about being a princess's bodyguard and that he had believed it. His sudden cynicism caused him to overlook the 2 extra hand seals they performed prior to the clone jutsu, but as they were swallowed up by a much bigger cloud, he paid attention once more. 5 copies of themselves surrounded them as they said, there we go. Damn, is there really a stain on the back of this shirt? Startled, Iruka blinked. He tried to determine what might have changed between these attempts as the different clones of them giggled in front of him. He saw some black marks on their right shoulder that were starting to go away as they turned to speak to Naruto. See, easy peasy, I just messed it up so you won't feel embarrassed. Naruto leapt to his feet and said, well, I only messed up so you wouldn't look dumb messing up. I bet I can do it in like 5 tries. As Rozu assisted Naruto with the jutsu, Iruka observed. While they worked with him, those marks disappeared, but he kept his gaze fixed on them. It was nearly 100 attempts before he was able to create a complete clone. This clone, of course, appeared lifeless and immobile. That so counts, Naruto said, gesturing to the clone instead. It's a full clone. Naruto, my baby boy, my sweet child, Rozu said, clasping their hands together. I don't think a clone like that would do shit for you in any situation. Naruto folded his arms angrily and said, you're making excuses because you don't want to teach me the water ball jutsu. I bet you can't even do it. They briefly held the tiger seal before hurling a big ball of water into a nearby tree, saying, first of all, we had a deal, and secondly. Iruka simply stared. He was certain that Mark had something to do with the obvious resolution of any chakra problems they had previously experienced. Rozu remarked, I think we should probably call it a day for the time being. Iruka probably has other things to do, right? As Naruto angrily continued to attempt to create a living clone behind them. Not at all. More smoke enveloped him. I need to get my hands on that move. I think your mom's right, Naruto. You probably shouldn't try and make clones this many times in an hour. I can't stop watching this. He gave it another go and created an even bigger cloud, and when it dissipated, 2 Narutos were lying face down on the ground. Phased through one of them, Rozu's hand said, well, it is more convincing when you do it that way. Iruka moved to assist them in grabbing the real Naruto, but Rozu picked him up surprisingly easily. Well, you seem like you're more than fine after all that, Iruka said. This is generally why we hold off on teaching them ninjutsu. Oh, yes, everything is fine. After all that struggling to make some legs, but you really good at the water ball jutsu it seems. I mean, really good might be a stretch, I'd say pretty good for sure though. I take it that you were just dragging me along earlier? He allowed his irritation to show in his voice. Did you laugh well? Maybe tone it down a little there, bucko. I just had my limiter on still. Your limiter? Yes, my chakra prevents sensory types from finding me, but they weaken me nonetheless. However, putting this one back on is going to be a huge pain in the ass. Why didn't you simply remove it right away? Because I am vain and didn't think I'd need to, but apparently they're very good at making me weak. Really? Yes, but why would I tell a falsehood? I'm really just used to you lying to me about literally everything. Well, that's not fair. I didn't lie about everything, I just didn't share before. That is like the most technical of technicalities and you know it. Yeah, well, stop talking. You're the only person here that I genuinely kind of trust, aside from Kakashi, and I still don't know much about Naruto's family. That stopped Iruka cold, both literally and figuratively, because it felt strange to hear them say that, given that all he had actually done for them was lie about Naruto being a Jinchuriki. Thank you. He stopped again when I said, oh shut up. I just said I trust you, don't think I'm falling in love with you, or something like that, he said. Thank you. Is such a stupid thing to say. They had opened up to him against all odds, and he wasn't even willing to tell them probably the most important thing he knew about Naruto, which left a sour taste in his mouth. He had already planned to drink today, but perhaps he would get a few extra for the guilt. He decided to leave them alone after that, partly because he felt bad and partly because he felt offended by what they said. Iruka stopped when he heard a voice calling after him, hey you. You're Iruka? Correct? That's, he froze in place, turning to face the source of the voice. He saw the Jiraiya of the Sannin standing in front of him. The entire Leaf Village would recognize this renowned shinobi, and he was searching for Iruka? That's, Jiraiya attempted to gesture for him to continue the sentence. Yup, was his choice for a succinct response. Jiraiya grinned and held up a hand to him, saying, oh, I see what's happening. It's me, the great Jiraiya, the 4th Hokage's master and the great sage of the Toads. Hold off on asking for autographs until the very end. And you're trying to find me? Iruka is roused from his daze by the man's stunts. You're correct. I'm researching a very specific topic, and I've heard you're the go-to person for it. What precisely is this subject? In all areas of study, Iruka lacked specialized knowledge. Jiraiya led him into a nearby alleyway and drew him closer, saying, this is quite confidential, follow me. Naruto's mother. Naturally, Iruka was also aware of Jiraiya's other, far more notorious title, and he was not at all comfortable talking about his friend with a man who went by the name of the legendary Perv. Trying to come up with a good reason to leave, he said, I think you've got the wrong person here, and I have to go take a student out of the oven. Even though his excuse was completely nonsensical, it was fortunate that Jiraiya was sufficiently stunned by the words to be able to slip away. He chose to power walk in order to avoid any more awkward conversation as he heard footsteps following him. The words, "Fuck this," preceded a loud explosion, and then he saw a huge toad behind him. Grab him. He felt bad for the shop owners and other civilians who wanted to have a normal afternoon but were now collateral damage in this chase, and since it had turned from a harmless chase to a giant toad trying to grab him with its tongue, he decided to go for a full run. Stop fucking running. Jiraiya couldn't stand his antics and disobedience. Then quit fucking attacking me. Iruka was far more tired of his antics. As odd as he was, Jiraiya was a Sannin, and because of this disparity in skill, Iruka ended up tied to a tree by a toad's tongue. Unfortunately, this chase could not continue indefinitely. "Alright, now that you're safe," Jiraiya said, taking out a little notebook. "How did Naruto get a new mother? Did he try to change into a human? What did he do? For the time being, I'll mark that as a tentative no. How did his new mother arrive here? Wait, these aren't some of your research questions, they're just normal questions? Okay, I take great offense to that, but yes, these are normal questions. I see, I may have jumped to a conclusion early and this whole situation could have probably been avoided. I will not be untying you, please answer the question." Iruka tried to recall Naruto's explanation of what had happened, but it had been a while. "Well, from what I understand, they sort of showed one day and ran into Naruto?" she asked. "And there was some lying involved and then they adopted him? That sounds like utter bullshit. Listen, I said the same thing, but no, the Hokage just filled out all the papers himself and showed them to me." "What the hell? Why didn't he just show me the papers then? Did you ask for them? That is besides the point. Next question, where the hell are they from? Are they even a citizen here?" Yes, the Hokage also granted them citizenship. They seem pretty insistent about being from the land of snow. How insistent? They had a very elaborate backstory related to it, so I'm inclined to believe they're from there. Okay. Do they know about Naruto's little his you know? Iruka wasn't entirely sure what that meant, so she asked, you know? His little belly buddy? Belly buddy? Yeah. That sure is what I said. Do you mean the fox demon? Yep, as we Sannin call it, the belly buddy. After observing how Jiraiya had become a Sannin, Iruka made the decision to try to get promoted to Jonin. They definitely have no idea about his belly buddy. Did they mention anything about his birth parents? They are trying to find out more about them? As of right now though, I think they know nothing? So why the hell did this random person adopt Naruto? I really wish you were here like 3 months ago, because no one else understood how confused I was about this then. Is everyone just cool with this? Like no one said, hey, maybe we shouldn't let a stranger be in charge of Naruto? No one at all? I did. I said that. Jiraiya finally got the toad to let him go, saying, well, thank you for being the voice of reason here. I've been out here pulling my hair trying to piece together what kind of Black Ops mission they must be on to steal Naruto. Only to find out they're just a fucking random asshole. They did at one point mention a secret lair. It was kind of a joke, but then again it could have been a trick. It's always a trick. I joke about my secret base all the time. Why? So no one thinks I actually have one. The two of them lost control and began to concoct increasingly ridiculous theories about Rozu's real reasons for adopting Naruto. Any and all ideas were thrown onto the notepad as viable possibilities. Jiraiya was reading their final draft when she said, okay, so once they've won over Naruto, they get him to steal the Scroll of Seals. From there they use the scroll to bargain with the Stone Village who hate the Leaf Village. Once they've gained safe passage there, they double-cross the Stone Village by revealing they're actually from the Cloud Village. Thus the Cloud Village has 3 Jinchuriki, and come the next war they defeat everyone. Having Jiraiya here gave Iruka a sense of validation. It's the perfect crime, but they're not getting away with it anymore. He called forth another toad and hopped on its back, saying, come on. We have to warn the Hokage immediately. Iruka had had a very peculiar start to this afternoon, but he didn't care anymore. In order to uncover a vast conspiracy and rescue the village alongside Jiraiya, he rode a toad in the direction of the Hokage Tower. That was about as good as it got. What the fuck? The Hokage sprang from his seat when their toad smashed through his window. Sensei, we have grave news. Jiraiya jumped up and took the notebook out. Naruto's new mom is actually a triple agent. What? Trust us, he said, beckoning Iruka to stop. We can give you the rundown of the whole thing right now. Iruka, is this true? The Hokage asked, obviously unsure of what was happening. Sir, it is frightfully true. Okay, I'll humor you. You get 5 minutes to give me the rundown. The two started producing the truth in great quantities. They went over each point and provided the full explanation in a full 30 minutes. Until the very end, the Hokage did nothing but sit and watch. Jiraiya pointed to the murder board he had made on the wall and said, "So you see the truth now, right?" "I see." He leaned over to the speaker and pressed the button on his desk. "Rozu, could you come in here please?" They said, "What's up, boss?" as they entered through the door. He pointed to Jiraiya and said, "I'd like to introduce you to someone," before making his way to the door. "This is Jiraiya, my former pupil and Naruto's deadbeat godfather. I'll see you Monday." Hiruzen had a long day. Jiraiya had left without providing him with any information from his spies after hearing just one sentence of his village update. You could forgive that alone. Over the sounds of yelling and property damage that would be a Monday problem, he felt good as he passed the other employees and wished them a good weekend. Sir," was the response of an Anbu officer at the tower, "should anyone tr." He patted the woman on the shoulder and said, "No, nobody should try to stop what's happening in my office," before leaving for home. Iruka was cowering beneath the Hokage's desk back in the office. Things took a turn for the worse as soon as the Hokage locked the door behind him. He was jealous that the toad could point at Jiraiya and simply yell, "You." The toad they had ridden there poofed away in terror. He heard it ringing somewhere above him and snatched it up in the hopes that assistance would arrive. "Hello? Hokage's office, help please." The Hokage called out, "Ah, good Iruka, could you please put me on speaker?" "Yes sir," he said, glancing up from where he was hiding and pressing the speaker button. "I forgot to mention as I left Rozu, Jiraiya's main job is writing porn books. He on numerous occasions has left one of these books here for Naruto's 18th birthday." Iruka sincerely hoped that sentence was over. Rozu chose to use the desk since he had run out of non-desk objects to use to strike Jiraiya. "You no good." He winced as he saw a Jiraiya-shaped hole inserted into the desk. Deadbeat perverted piece of trash. There was not enough desk left to use as a weapon after they struck him with it a third time. Iruka had to concede that it was quite amazing that Jiraiya was still alive. Rozu appeared to have calmed down now that he had nothing left to use to harm Jiraiya and could avoid touching him. Jiraiya shook her head and said, "No, thank you, sir. I'll take the check now." Iruka said, "I think and headed for the door. "I'll just, be on my way." They held the door shut and said, "Oh, don't move so quickly. Since I've already got you here, I need help planning a birthday party. We have about 3 weeks. "Oh, thank God." Iruka simply expressed gratitude for avoiding some of the violence intended for Jiraiya during the runoff. "I can tell you whose parents to check with for invites?" "Okay, that's good, and then we gotta think of a venue. I'm making this guy pay for it on the grounds that he abandoned Naruto." Jiraiya was well enough to speak normally after saying, "I won't even be here then." Rozu dragged him from the ground by his kimono and said, "Oh, you better be, or so help me, I will end you." "I could probably Jiraiya began to perspire. Yeah, I can make it." "Good. Follow-up question, what's with the pictures of me on the wall?" "That is, was Iruka's response as he searched his mind for a plausible murderboard explanation. "Well, very hard to explain. I see a picture of me, though I am unaware how or when it was taken, with a big scroll drawn into my hands. Am I also breathing fire a little bit? Is this a drawing of my secret lair?" Iruka reasoned that it would be simpler to imagine the worst-case scenario for why this is all up there than to provide an explanation. "You've realized how incredibly cool I am, and we're trying to requisition the Hokage for funds to build me a secret lair?" I said the worst. I just wanted to imagine a world where my close friend tries to get me a secret lair, instead of trying to predict some fake evil scheme I'm not doing. I'm impressed you got it in one, and a little ashamed it was that easy to guess. But where are the pictures from? I'll let you know right now there's a wrong answer to this question. He gave Rozu a look. Jiraiya was frantically gesturing to him behind them, with an urgency he had never seen before. He hadn't given much thought to Jiraiya's source for the pictures. The words just came out of his mouth because of that thought. Jiraiya had them. With her arms folded and her lips pressed into a line, Rozu turned to face him. Jiraiya simply stood there with his hand pressed to his forehead without responding. They held the door of the tower open for him and said, "So I feel like a bigger training ground would be good for a classic outdoor party, right?" As they walked away, Iruka tried not to look at Jiraiya and said, yeah, that would be the easiest I think." Rozu approached the suspended Jiraiya and placed some papers on him, saying, "Great, I can fill out some paperwork for it next time I'm in for work. If you're late I'll literally kill you. Oh, and don't forget to bring an appropriate gift for a 7-year-old. With a hand still firmly pressed to his forehead, he moaned out a response and looked at Iruka with disappointment. Iruka briefly felt bad before realizing that he was solely to blame. And I'm just spitballing here, but like my birthday is only 2 months away, and a secret base would be a really thoughtful gift. Iruka sensed that this would be a long-term statement. You'll have to take that one up with your evil scheme supervisor. Iruka had spent the majority of the week compiling a list of parents he was reasonably certain would allow their children to attend the celebration. Once they found out that Itachi would be bringing Sasuke and that the Hyugas would be attending, persuading people became surprisingly simple. Though he wasn't entirely sure, he sincerely hoped that meant just Hinata and her parents and not the entire clan. He was generally quite happy with the list he was giving to Rozu. Hokage's office. "How can I help you?" a secretary who was noticeably not Rozu said to him. Oh, he hadn't anticipated this result. "I was actually looking for the other secretary? Out sick. Any business for the Hokage?" No." She gestured to the door and said, "Have a nice day then." Right. Left after heeding her stern instructions. He visited the Uzumaki home because he was unsure of their other location and had limited time for his lunch break. Rozu peered out at him as the door cracked open slightly a few moments after he knocked. "Good, it's you," they said as they dragged him inside and secured the door. "I need assistance with an issue and know you can keep secrets." Iruka asked, "I heard you were sick?" They appeared to be in good health, with the exception of the hat they were wearing. "Had to call out of work. I'm either losing my mind or started sleepwalking." I'm sorry, what does that mean?" "Okay, so," they said, seated him, and then started pacing. "Every now and again Naruto has nightmares. No big deal, happens to the best of us. He likes to sleep on my bed when that happens. Usually whenever that happens I have some weird dream I can't remember. I hadn't paid any mind to that before this week since it was pretty infrequent." "Okay?" Iruka asked, uncertain of the direction of this. "This has happened every day this week, and the weird dreams I have are a lot more vivid. It's hard to pinpoint, but I wake up feeling very strange. Up until today that was kind of it though, just some strange extra grogginess in the morning." "And today?" "Today this happened," they said, taking off the hat to reveal their red hair to him. "Your hair turned red? While I was asleep, yes. And this isn't a prank you're playing on me? Do I look like I'd willingly dye my hair red for a prank?" He said, without realizing that was a sensitive spot for them, kind of. "Iruka, this color does not work for me. Imagine if everyone I knew saw me like this. I would never be able to recover." "It doesn't look that bad." He couldn't think of anything wrong with it. The color was a little startling at first, but that was about it. They stopped pacing and pointed at their head, saying, "I look like I have a tomato for a head." He hesitated before raising a hand in an attempt to disagree. He could definitely see the tomato head now that they had pointed it out. He concluded that shifting the subject was the best course of action. "Do you know why or how this happened? Did Naruto pull a prank on you? You think I wouldn't have woken up in the middle of him dyeing my hair red? He can be shockingly sneaky when he wants to be. He'd have to have flipped me over to dye all of my hair, so again, you really think I'd stay asleep through that?" Iruka was skeptical that this had anything to do with belly buddies, but she wanted to be sure. "Well, no, but I can't think of another explanation." She asked, "Has Naruto mentioned what the nightmares are?" "God, yay, it's literally the same one every time, which admittedly would lead me to believe he was lying about it." "And it is? He's in a sewer with a giant fox." Iruka swore to himself in silence. That is a very common nightmare in the village. Wasn't exactly a lie. He had experienced the 9 tails in many of his nightmares prior. "It is? Did you not know about the 9-tailed fox's attack on the village?" No. When the hell did that happen?" "About 7 years ago now." Iruka chose not to specify the precise date in case they made the connection. "He would have just been a baby then. Can babies remember stuff like that? I know you guys start them young here, but like, this village doesn't literally throw babies into fights, right?" "Oh god, no. From what I understand though, Naruto lost his parents in the attack, so maybe that's why he's having this dream so often. That is a very traumatic event, so you know, this all kind of checks out." Iruka was largely certain that a demon that resided in Naruto's belly couldn't alter someone else's hair color, so she said, "I don't know why your hair is red though. I was so caught up in the tragic story of why my son has nightmares about a fox demon I forgot about that. Now I'm sad and confused. Iruka chose to try and work his justification for being there into the conversation by saying, if it makes you feel better, I've got a pretty solid list of families who said they'd come to the party. And I also need to get back to work since my lunch break is almost over. They took the list away from him and dragged him to his feet, saying, oh god, right, I'm sorry. You're just the first person I've seen other than Naruto all day and I really needed to talk through all this. Is this why you and Jiraiya were so weird together? Well, with this it was me feeling vindicated. You're just going a little crazy, I think. Wow, that is so reassuring, thanks. I'll see if I can find anything out about sudden red hair and let you know, but I think you'll be fine. So long as no one else sees me like this I will be. Again, it doesn't look that bad. Rozu ushered him out, saying, this just proves that you have no taste. He shouted, that is very rude, at the door that was now closed in his face. Just a few seconds before the children returned inside, he made it back to the academy. Iruka immediately returned to teaching after writing a brief note to try to locate Jiraiya. He made an effort to keep things light because it was Friday and the kids were obviously just looking forward to the weekend. The day quickly came to an end when the bell rang. He yelled, remember to finish your reports this weekend, they're due Monday, as the children rushed out the door, and no running in the hallway. Additionally, it was surprisingly pleasant to wait for the students to be picked up. Before long, only a handful of people remained waiting. In order to make sure he could manage, he went to Mizuki. Naruto's mom is sick, so I'll be making sure he gets back home. Do you think you'll be fine by yourself? Mizuki was staring at something behind Iruka when she said, I mean yeah, but are you sure about that? From what the Hokage's temporary secretary said, I'm pretty sure. Why? Well, I think that's Naruto and his mom heading out now? Was his mom always a redhead? When Iruka turned to look, she saw that Rozu and Naruto were indeed leaving. He was even more perplexed by their apparent decision to do away with the previous hat. He went to the two and said, I'm going to go check on that, I think. Go get Tiger. Choosing to get straight to the point, he asked, hey Rozu, are you feeling better now? You still seemed, fairly sick earlier. Oh, they paused and gave him a look. That? I was just so embarrassed. You guessed it right, on the first try I tried to recover but realized I should have just cut my losses. I was gonna try and prank you with the whole red hair spooky dream thing, but you just caught on way too quick. Really? If he was fooled by that, he must be incompetent. Oh well thanks for telling me now, you actually had me going there. Guess Naruto is rubbing off on you too. Naruto turned away from Iruka and folded his arms, saying, I take offense to that, I am a great influence. What? PSH, no way. Rozu nuggied for fun at Naruto's head. This lil guy is just a chip of the OL block. Something felt strange, but Iruka couldn't quite put her finger on it. Although he couldn't claim to know Rozu very well, he was fairly certain that they were behaving oddly. Of course, that odd conversation earlier might have caused him to overthink things. He chose to try not to worry about it and said, okay, well, you two have a good night then. You too. They poked Naruto gently. Naruto, come on, be polite. Fine, you too. He made an effort to ignore that thought as they were leaving, but it persisted. Why call in sick to work if it was only a practical joke? They could have tried to sell him on it by speaking with him there even right now. He continued with the remainder of his evening, trying his best to ignore it. He and Mizuki finished everything together and departed early. Even though they had come clean about everything, he chose to follow up on his previous note when he was ready to leave. As he was leaving the tower, Iruka caught him and said, excuse me, Lord Hokage. Do you know if Jiraiya is still in the village? If this is for another conspiracy story, no, sorry about that once again, but no, I just wanted to ask him something for Rozu since they're sick. With a, alright, he went on to walk. He's been staying with me till the party, so come along. The walk to the third's home, a charming home with a view of the majority of the village, was unexpectedly lengthy. He heard a dispute going on inside the structure. Pointing to Jiraiya's ongoing project, Ebisu exclaimed, how dare you bring this filth here? Jiraiya took a copy of one of his books out of Ebisu's pocket and asked, oh, and what's this? It's not mine. Hiruzen removed his Hokage robe and hung it by the door, saying, Ebisu, you can go home now. Jiraiya, you have a visitor. He hurled Ebisu out the open door and threw an arm over Iruka's shoulder, saying, ah, perfect. I had a new theory that I wanted to get a second opinion on. What if they're an alien? Leaning closer to Jiraiya, he said, I'm actually not here about that. But I am so down to talk about this later, I have considered that before. Pointing to the sign that read, No conspiracy crafting here. Hiruzen exclaimed. What did I say? Quickly, Iruka bowed. Right, sorry. I just saved questions about Naruto and his belly buddy. Jiraiya pointed to the spare room where he had been staying and said, well, okay, come into my office. Jiraiya mouthed to him and closed the door after they were both inside. This wasn't a pretext to talk about conspiracies, so Iruka shook his head. No, Jiraiya shrugged and collapsed on the bed. He glanced at Iruka and paused for a moment before asking, so what's up? Lady troubles? Men troubles? Nope, it is not either of those, and I'd prefer to keep the conversation away from that. Fine. It's actually about Naruto and the fox, and I figure you might know something since you taught the 4th Hokage? A fair assumption, go on. So, could the fox leak out of the seal into someone else? I'm gonna give you a hard no, that probably couldn't happen. That is very reassuring. Follow-up question. Could it affect someone else's dreams? Maybe if they slept in direct contact with Naruto. Even then it'd be hard for it to learn how to affect them. But it could happen. I suppose so. Why? Rozu mentioned having weird dreams when Naruto would sleep in their bed after having nightmares. Would those nightmares happen to be related to a very large fox in a sewer? That is actually exactly the nightmare. Shit. Final question? I assume I won't like this one either, but go ahead. How bad of a sign is it if Rozu has one of those dreams and then suddenly wakes up with red hair and is acting a little off? Well, I am an expert, and I'd say incredibly bad. Please tell me that was purely a hypothetical question. Is it okay if I lie? It'll make me feel better, so yes. Then yes, it was purely hypothetical. Jiraiya inhaled deeply and remained silent for a short while. Iruka simply stood there waiting for him to speak because he had no idea what was happening. It didn't actually make me feel better. We should go find them like right now. Jiraiya leapt out of the window without waiting for a response. Iruka jumped out after him, determined not to be left behind. Jiraiya was now more serious than Iruka had ever imagined when he said, we check their home first, look for any clues and then go from there. Got it. Iruka was to enter by the door and go to a window when Jiraiya signaled for them to separate when they got there. He made his way to the Uzumaki door by sneaking through the complex. Fortunately, he could hear them inside. All he needed to do now was wait for the signal. Iruka felt a twinge of panic when he heard Naruto say, hey mom, some weird guy is hanging outside our window. He heard Rozu respond, ew, get away from him, and then there was a loud crash outside. If you ever see that creepy guy again, make sure to hit him as hard as you can. Really? Yes, I'm giving you my full permission to hit him as hard as you can anytime you see him. Iruka made the decision to abandon his portion of the mission and set out to locate Jiraiya. Although it was simple to see where he had fallen, the man appeared to have disappeared. Well, now what do I do? The world's response was for a big toad to snatch him up and tear him to pieces on a nearby roof. He saw Jiraiya lying low with binoculars after he regained his bearings. Okay, so plan A, total failure, he said, offering Iruka another pair. So now we do plan B, stakeout. Iruka took the pair of binoculars and positioned herself as well. Why do? No, I can guess why you have two of these. The stakeout provided little information about the motivation of the person who had taken Rozu's place. With Naruto, they appeared to be acting like typical mothers. Despite everything that was going on, he somehow thought that the most strange behavior was when they were baking cookies and wearing an apron. He felt really strange about the stakeout as he watched them put Naruto to bed, thinking, maybe I was overreacting. They sort of said it was all a prank earlier. Jiraiya pointed to the tiny crater he had created earlier and said, well, why the hell didn't you open with that? Could have saved me a lot of pain. Iruka tried to point at Rozu in the apartment but was unable to locate them. Well, they are acting strangely, she said. Wait, where are they? Their voice was now behind them, asking, so what are you two doing up here? He slowly spun around, trying to come up with a clever lie. Cause it sure looks like you're trying to peep on me, which is very weird. I can expect this from him, but you're Naruto's teacher. Have some dignity. The statement, I have standards, seemed to offend Jiraiya. They seized Jiraiya by the front of his kimono and lifted him up, saying, oh, I've had enough of you. You had one job, take care of Naruto, and you didn't even try. Honestly, it's as much my fault as it is yours. How on earth I let Minato convince me making you godfather was a good idea I cannot recall. What? Jiraiya's response to what they said was obvious. How do you know who my husband is? Well, was. The words, Iruka, things are far worse than we thought, made Jiraiya go completely white. Together, Iruka and Rozu asked in radically different tones, "What does that mean?" On the one hand, it means we aren't under attack from a tailed beast. His voice rasped. On the other hand, I think I see my life flashing before my eyes. They erupted into a fit of laughter before Iruka could attempt to clarify that. Jiraiya was able to wriggle free of their hold and flee, letting him be by himself with this person. When they finally stopped laughing, they turned to face him and asked, "You thought I was the fox? Really?" I'm still sort of on that line of thinking since I don't know who you are." "Don't be silly, I'm Naruto's mom," they said, smiling pleasantly at him. "His real mother, Kushina Uzumaki, at your service." Even though Iruka was still completely lost, he accepted her hand. She had obviously lost the air of pretending she had been keeping up. In some way, this person's face was literally different. She pulled him to his feet and said, "And I can tell by the look on your face you've got so many questions. But I really don't care to answer them." "What? I know you and Rozu had a little rapport going, some cute little flirting too, but I'm a married woman, so that's Denizo." "What?" he repeated, raising his voice. "Long story short, your little friend is gone for now, probably forever. Now if you'll excuse me, I am very excited to take a nice bath for the first time in 7 years." As she walked away, he stood there completely bewildered. Jiraiya was most likely long dead, and he had never heard of Kushina before. At the same time that he thought things were beginning to make sense. What? Iruka attempted to pound the pavement and learn more after Friday's events. He wasn't sure who to turn to because Kakashi was on a long-term mission and Jiraiya had left town. Attempting to enter the Hokage's office resulted in Kushina's presence, ruining the entire discreet element of the situation. Naturally, she had come up to him a couple of times, maintaining appearances as she put it. Furthermore, she had invited Mizuki to the party but not him. The line had been crossed by her. Mizuki was also attempting to persuade him that he had not cracked the bro code, which remained a mystery to him, by saying, "Look, I know it seems like I was going behind your back, but I swear, I would never do that to a bro. For the 10th time, I believe you. That's not why they gave you an invite and not me." "Okay, well, it hurts when you say that, cause it could be why I'm just letting you know it's not." To his list of complaints against Kushina, he added this exchange. He could simply leave this situation if it weren't for the few children who are still waiting on their parents, but his job kept him there. As one Itachi Uchiha came toward them, he prayed to whatever ruthless deity was out there, saying, "Excuse me. I need to discuss some things with Iruka." Before leaving with Itachi, Iruka didn't give him a chance to respond. "Well, if you insist, sorry man, but you know I just gotta. What can I do for you?" Rozu provided an invite to Naruto's party to Sasuke earlier, and mentioned how a proper chaperone should take him. "I may be reading into this, but are they mad at me?" "Well, I'm sure they aren't, but I cannot say for the Rozu who gave that invite." Itachi was somewhat confused by his response when he asked, "Does Naruto have two parents with the same name?" "Nope, just was the best way he could describe what had happened to someone else. The ghost, I guess, of Kushina, Naruto's birth mother, may have possessed them. Are you perhaps not getting enough sleep? I'm aware teaching can be very stressful." "No, she sort of told me that to my face, not in those exact words, but more or less." Assuming that is true, are you aware of what she knows of me?" "No, I'm still not actually clear how you know Rozu if I'm honest." "Oh, that's easy, I helped them hide a body." He was able to recall which body from Rozu's story, but his yelling did draw some unwanted attention. "You're that guy?" "Yes. Sorry, they just, told me about most of that, but didn't mention you were that guy." "Well, I can maybe see why this mother might not want me at a children's birthday party then. Assuming this Kushina is also aware of that story." "So that answers your question?" "It does. I now just have many more questions." "Well, get in line, bud, I'm sitting on a few hundred." "Oh, will you be confronting them about this?" "I was planning to about the party already and would be glad to accompany you." Given that A. She was extremely frightening and B. Had made it very clear that she would not be providing any explanations, Iruka had no intention of doing that. He might be able to get something out of her, though, with Itachi as a backup. That would actually be very helpful. After saying, "Okay, I'll see you later today," Itachi returned to Sasuke and left. He attempted to create a plan because he had no real one in place in case things didn't work out the way he had hoped. Mizuki's explanation of the nuances of being a bro rather than assisting him in cleaning up their classroom made it difficult. He was at last alone in his house, free from outside distractions, and able to think. This continued for a minute before a knock on his door was heard. Assuming it was Mizuki, he opened it angrily and asked, "Can I help you?" Naruto took a defensive step back and said, "I dunno? Naruto? Why are you here? Well, first of all, can I trust you not to narc on me?" Depends? I made a clone and snuck over here." "Oh, that's great news that you've got the clone technique down." "I wouldn't say that. Another dead clone?" "Yes, but it distracted my mom long enough for me to sneak out, so it worked. I want that on the record that it did work." "Okay, fine. But why exactly did you do that?" Naruto asked with a hint of fear. "Is something going on with my mom?" "What? No, of course not." Iruka didn't want to worry him about all the strange things that were definitely happening with his mother. "They're acting very strangely, though, as if they're leaving or something. All of the baking, the kissing, and the phrases like, 'It's okay, Mom's here and isn't going away ever again,' are not typical." "Oh, those was not a good lie he had prepared. Are just, normal mom things?" Naruto was not happy about this lack of assistance. "You know, don't you?" he said. "Whatever's going on you know and you aren't telling me." "Naruto, there's nothing going on, I promise." He sincerely hoped that the lies Naruto had been told would not lead to future trust issues. "I'm sure Rozu is just, hitting their motherhood stride?" "What does that mean?" Iruka was hoping that someone would cut him off in this conversation. "There you are." Rozu swore to himself as he turned a corner and came toward them. "You had me very worried with that little bait and switch. Stay away from me." Naruto hurried after Iruka. "You're not my mom. I don't care what everyone is saying." "Oh, don't be silly. I'm sure whatever far-fetched story Iruka told you is just one of his many funny little conspiracies about me." Iruka attempted to turn the statement, "All I've told him is that you're his very normal mother," into a question. "But why don't you share a fun little conspiracy, to lighten the mood?" She put a finger to her chin and said, "Well, let's see. Maybe something about me being from the moon, and I've come here to steal the nicest little children away." "Okay, just because I had put something like that on the board means nothing." She gestured Naruto toward her and said, "Nothing good for sure. Now come on, dinner is gonna get cold if we don't hurry back." Holding onto the back of Iruka's pant leg, Naruto declared, "I'm not going anywhere with you. I want to know where my real mom is." She lowered herself so that she was eye level with him and said, "Naruto, my dear son. I am your real mother, and Rozu did a wonderful job taking care of you while I was away. I'm back now and I'm so grateful for their help in getting me here with you." Iruka felt the tightening of Naruto's hold and felt sorry for Kushina. Her son was rejecting her, and she had somehow risen from the grave. He could at least allow her to spend time with him, even if he thought everything was crazy right now. His hand touched Naruto's shoulder. Ignoring the glance she gave him, he said, "You were right before. I do know what happened. This isn't Rozu, but you apparently already knew that, Naruto. This is Kushina. She's your birth mother. I'm not sure how she's here, but her and Rozu worked it out together. I hope it doesn't ruin the surprise if you hear about this now. Rozu wanted to give you a chance to spend time with her for your birthday." Naruto released his hold and turned to face her again. With a tear in her eye, Kushina grinned at him. As they appeared to be together, Iruka felt comfortable lying again even though she knew it might not have been appropriate. As Naruto took her hand and they walked away, she gave him one final look. He felt conflicted about everything and was alone once more. It seemed like forever, and he had no idea when the next knock on his door would occur. He motioned Itachi inside and shut the door once more. Itachi was carrying a small book. "I tried to search the Uchiha archives for anything related to ghosts. It's all very old material and none of it mentions possessions." Iruka recalled what Jiraiya had said at the beginning. "I don't think ghost is quite right. At first we thought it was the Nine Tails attempting to influence them." Oh right. I had gone to Jiraiya about this when their hair turned red. He has since fled, so I haven't really been able to figure out too much more about that." The statement, that actually might still be correct, was supported by some more documents that Itachi produced. "I looked into a Kushina Uzumaki. Most of her records were kept hidden. It turns out she was the former Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails." Iruka looked at the papers and said, "Wait, what? How did you get these?" Being in Anbu has some perks to balance out all of the trauma. He didn't recognize her, of course, but it was helpful to have a face to the name. Her files included a few pictures. According to Itachi, the Jinchuriki who came before her was also an Uzumaki. He put these and other, unrelated questions on the back burner. "So you think her containing the Nine Tails may be related to this ghost stuff?" "I'm no expert, so this is all sort of speculation, but perhaps a piece of her stayed with the Nine Tails after it was resealed. If what happened to Rozu is because of its influence, then perhaps that piece managed to use that to affect them. This was based on some facts, and Iruka really didn't have a working theory. Well, that makes more sense than ghosts being real, I guess. For the record, I really don't want ghosts to be real. Iruka forgot that Itachi was most likely still too young to have such fears. Okay, that is on the record, she asked. Where do we go from here? Stakeout. Doing a stakeout ended very badly last time, so we should put it at the bottom of the list. Do you have any other options then? Maybe we just have to wait it out? And hope she comes to us to explain what's going on. Most ninja aren't exactly known for doing that. Iruka was unsure of how to express his unexpected sympathy for Kushina. Perhaps it was more complicated than some evil scheme to steal bodies, as he had first thought. Somehow, they would have to obtain more information, but he was at a loss for ideas. Unless she was keeping a ghost diary, there probably wasn't any evidence they could pry through. We could just try and ask her, I guess. She had previously told him that questions were not allowed, but he had succeeded in getting Rozu to give him answers, so how difficult could she be to get past? Unless you've got some weird mind control stuff you can do. I'd rather not resort to that. Now, are you making a weird joke or can you actually do that? I know someone who can, but I think that should be a last resort thing. Iruka selected, right, as the second choice on the list. Politely ask as our go then. I'd like to put stakeout above mind control. All right, he said, rearranging the options in a new list on the back of the page. Thank you. If we get there in about 20 minutes, I think Naruto will be asleep, or at least in bed. All right. So, he realized that he needed to talk about something and that he would have to wait around with Itachi for another 20 minutes. What's the strangest themed restaurant you've been to? Itachi simply stared at him silently for a short while, giving Iruka the impression that he had just insulted the young prodigy. A cod-themed noodle shop. Did they sell noodles with cod? No, why did you go there exactly? I like cod, it has a nice texture. The experience was very disappointing. Iruka questioned that book further, unsure of what else to say. He wasn't sure if he was understanding them correctly because he had only read it once and only while extremely inebriated. To his astonishment, Itachi simply continued to respond to the inquiries. Do you have a name for all of the crows you feed? Of course. Do you want to share all of them? I think we don't have enough time for me to share all of the names. Should we get going? Iruka looked at the clock and saw that 5 minutes had passed since he had intended to arrive. Since it was his fault that they had run over in this manner, he hurried to the door. He barely stopped himself from crashing into the person there as he flung it open. Kushina let out a startled, "Holy fuck," as he abruptly threw the door open. What are you, psychic? Iruka was unsure of her purpose. If anyone asks, yes. Also, can I help you? I came here to try and pay back your help from before. If you're headed somewhere else, though, I can find you tomorrow. He pointed to Itachi and said, oh no, actually. We were actually about to go find you to ask questions. Perfect then, she said as she passed the two of them and took a seat inside. Per your standard rate with Rozu, you get 3 questions. Cool. Itachi decided to simply stand behind Iruka as he shut the door and took a seat again. He specifically addressed Iruka with the question, can I have the first question? Yeah, go for it, Iruka said, not yet having one prepared. Was I not invited to the party because I helped hide that one body? Not really. You just seemed like you wouldn't really enjoy a 7-year-old's birthday party, if I'm honest. That is fair. For the record, I would. Alright, I can get you an invite, I guess. Any non-party questions? None from me. Given their morning conversation, he probably should have anticipated that Itachi would ask, I've got 2, I guess. How did Rozu become you? She leaned back in the chair and said, yeah, I thought you'd ask something like that. Get comfy, it's a long answer. As an Uzumaki, I've got some pretty special chakra, and thanks to that was a very good Jinchuriki. Unfortunately, a masked asshole ripped the 9 tails out of me when I gave birth. After saying that, she hesitated for a moment. Iruka wasn't sure if she should just say who that was or if she wanted them to inquire. He made the decision to simply wait and see. Damn, wanted to try and get the 2 for 1, Kushina added after a full minute of silence. Him ripping it out of me apparently took some of my chakra with it. That and the chakra me and Minato put into the seal managed to link up. With that link up, I was able to manipulate the fox's chakra again, and basically just kept trying to hop into another body. Your friend just so happened to be the only one who was too weak to reject my chakra and in contact with Naruto enough I could do it. Wait, how many people did you try this on? Who's to say? Did you try and steal my body? She said, sheepishly scratching the back of her head. Only once or twice. That doesn't count as the third question, because you tried to steal my body. Fine, one more. Can we get you out of their body? I mean, who's to say? Ya no. That's a yes, and you just don't want to give back the stolen body, so you're deflecting. They stole my son, it's only fair. That is not how adoption works. You died. I know I died, you don't have to remind me, ya no. Iruka didn't want to consider what would happen if the roles were reversed and someone reminded him that he had passed away. Okay, I'm sorry, that was rude, I can admit. But you have to see how messed up what you're doing is, right? They said it was fine. When someone asks, hey, can I have your body forever? I find it extremely hard to believe that they said that was fine. Okay, yeah, I tricked them, but they were fine with helping me reunite with Naruto, which is what is now happening. Therefore, they were fine with it. No, that is not how that works. Iruka was shocked to find himself debating with a ghost about the evils of body theft. Get out of their body. No, yes. Itachi was obviously fed up with this exchange. If it's all the same to you both, I'll be leaving. Iruka, please find me later. What, why? For reasons. I'd like to know these reasons. Kushina's tone was obviously untrustworthy. And I would like it if you'd return Rozu their body. I'm annoyed, but you've got me there. I would also still like an invite to the party. Will you tell me the reasons if I give you one? No, then tough. Then don't come to me if you need a body hidden. I won't, I'll just take care of it myself. Itachi left, fine, on that. Kushia also made her way to the door, saying, for the record, I think you two won't work out. But that's just my 2 cents. As someone who was in a very successful marriage. Iruka yelled, get out, and pushed her out the door, and for the record, no, that is not why, and also I don't care. Sure you don't, buddy, was the thing she shouted for him to hear over the door. People accusing Iruka of having feelings was really getting on his nerves. Mizuki was already awful, but he would go completely crazy if someone else brought it up. Particularly if the person he was accused of having feelings for was inhabited by another ghost. Iruka would say that this morning was the worst she had ever experienced. He had no idea how he got here and was by himself in an unfamiliar room. Rozu would blame them for his life's spiral into madness if they were able to free him from Kushina. He didn't get any answers until the door opened and 2 people walked in. Perfect, you're awake, Itachi said, passing him a snack bar. Sorry, I had to move our timetable up a bit since Fox has a mission tomorrow. He grabbed the snack bar and turned to face Fox, saying, you kidnapped me. Their mask made him a little uneasy, even though they appeared to be your average Anbu member. Since Itachi had abducted him in the middle of the night, he assumed they could be trusted if they were with him. Itachi hung a few papers on the wall and said, like I said, short on time. I've made a rough outline for the mission. We'll have to isolate Kushina and then get her within Fox's line of sight. Once Fox is in, we can link up to them and go in as well. In her mind, Fox is capable of bringing other people along. Given everything we learned yesterday, I narrowed down our options. We'll either have to exorcise Rozu, which I'm unaware of how to do, or go into their mind and take out Kushina there. Iruka had seen him about 6 hours prior. Did Itachi get any sleep? When did you come up with this exactly? She asked. About an hour ago. That's when I linked up with Fox and had to move our mission time up. The whole mind thing seems like a stretch though. What if we get overpowered by her in there? That brings me to part 2 of that solution. Once one of us is in there with Fox, the other will have to remove the limiters from Rozu. Given what Kushina said, those are likely what let her take over. Iruka believed they had only informed him. Wait, you knew about the limiters? He asked. Of course, we hid a body together. Should you say that INF? Don't care, was Fox's first statement, and they were undoubtedly direct. Right. So one of us goes in and tries to kick her out from the inside, and the other boosts Rozu up to help kick her out. Seems simple enough. Glad you think so, it's on you to get her alone. Once you do so, Fox will move, then you'll be going in. Is that a good idea? I'm definitely the weakest one here. While a fair point, I thought it over and decided you'd be the best fit for that role. I don't enjoy the sensation of my mind leaving my body. Of course, Iruka was certain that he would also detest it. How am I supposed to get her alone? You've already called out of work for the day. Itachi silenced any further inquiries by raising a hand. Naruto will be at school, so you just need to get her to stay home long enough for Fox to get prepped. Once they're ready, we'll knock on the door. The fact that he could just call out for me made Iruka ask, how did you call out for me exactly? The phrase, like this, truly annoyed him when he heard Itachi's voice. So, I just have to keep someone who really doesn't like me in one place long enough for you two to get ready. Not really sure Kushina won't just ignore me and head off. It's on you to figure out something convincing enough, if not the plan will be a bust. Great, no pressure. The start of the academy day was less than an hour away. When it did, Kushina would spend a brief period of time alone before leaving for work. Though he didn't particularly enjoy it, he had managed to think of one possible strategy. He knocked on the Uzumaki's door and said, "Hello? Are you still in Rozu? I just wanted to apologize about something really quick." "I am," she said as she opened the door and looked at him, "but aren't you supposed to be teaching?" "Took today off, can I come in?" "Well, I didn't, so you'll have to make this quick and say it at the door. It's a little private for a hallway conversation." "Oh really, what exactly is this about then?" "I know we've had, well, a whole thing between us. Some bad times, some good times, some worse times, but I really think it's not fair to Kakashi." "What? I know it's kind of my fault with inviting him to Fun Friday, but I thought it would be good for us to just get it all out in the open. I was clearly wrong." She was confused, so she didn't have all of Rozu's memories, or at least the ones from when they were extremely inebriated. Wrong about what exactly?" she asked. Shortly after he said, "He's just not that into me, like, I know, having a three-way WI. She yanked him inside and secured the door. "What way with WHO? She asked, clearly upset by this news. Iruka detested the fact that this was working. "Yeah, I thought you'd want to know this. We all got very drunk one night and had a three-way. So when Kakashi is back later today, things might be really awkward." She rubbed her forehead and exclaimed, "Oh god, are you kidding me? The one fucking body I can get, and it belongs to someone who had a three-way with Kakashi." Iruka had not anticipated this to be so successful. "Is there something wrong with Kakashi?" she asked. "He was my husband's student, I've known him since he was like 5. "Wait." Iruka was still unsure of the identity of the Minato she had previously mentioned. "You were married to Kakashi's Jonin-sensei? As in, the 4th Hokage?" "Yes. Oh god, what if he tries to kiss me? This is so messed up." Iruka had lost control of the situation. Naruto's dad is the 4th Hokage? She gave him a focus slap. "I need you to help me dump Kakashi pronto. I cannot deal with this. You cannot just tell me Naruto's dad was a Hokage and expect me to focus on that." Another knock on the door caused both of them to pause. This had gotten way too out of control for Iruka, so he sincerely hoped it was Itachi and Fox. Kushina gazed fearfully at it. "Shouldn't you go open it? What if it's Kakashi?" Iruka had based this lie on the one fact that was true. "It can't be, he won't be back until tonight." "You open it. This is your house, look, I need you to open it so I don't have to deal with the distress seeing Kakashi will cause me." As he approached and grasped the doorknob, he said, "You are being so ridiculous, but fine." He was comforted to see Itachi and Fox as he carefully opened it. For some reason, he had been on the verge of believing it was Kakashi amid all the shouting. Fox stepped forward and made an odd hand seal at Kushina as he fully opened it. Kushina thumped to the ground as Itachi sprang forward and grabbed them. With a "good job" comment, Itachi helped Iruka lift Kushina off the ground and placed Fox in a chair. He hadn't been given an explanation of, "How do I link up with them exactly?" before. Itachi began working with the limiters, saying, "Grab their shoulder and match their chakra, good luck in there." He doubtfully said, "Thanks," and did as Itachi said. He realized what Itachi had previously meant as he matched Fox's chakra flow. It was unpleasant to feel his conscious mind leave his body. After a few moments, he was able to see and feel himself again. He was now at the base of a snow-capped mountain, and everything had changed. The snow that fell on him felt strange. It was brittle against his skin and didn't melt when it touched him. He saw something in the distance through the snow, so he went over there since he had nowhere else to go. As he approached, he went over some sort of threshold, and all of a sudden, there was no more snow. Rather, it was a verdant field with a little table in the middle. Oh great, another person in my head. The real Rozu was seated at the table there. Did you not sleep with Kakashi? He recognized Kushina according to the photos. Who can say? You can. In the middle of the shouting, Iruka made the decision to approach the table. He thought Fox would be here too, but he couldn't see them. He noticed the strange gold chains that were Rozu's restraints when he was near the table. With their head, they indicated a seat, saying, "So, welcome to my twisted mind. Take a seat if you want. Try and ignore the yelling woman." I think I'll pass on the seat. He attempted to approach them, but more chains stood in his way. Kushina was now glaring at him and saying, "You might have gotten in here, but you really shouldn't try and do that." He glared back, "Or else what? You'll steal my body too." "God please don't, he'd look so bad with red hair." "I would not." Kushina yelled at him, "Shut up," with a chain snap. "I've got a body now, and I am perfectly happy with it. So unless you want me to try out having two, get the hell out of it. This isn't your body." Iruka had escaped the chain, but she was unhappy with the number of people she had called forth. "Kushina Uzumaki is dead. You said it yourself, you're just some leftover chakra." "Iruka, just go," Rozu said in a feeble voice. Kushina tucked a lock of their hair away and said, "I told you, they're fine with this. It's what's best for everyone." He ducked under another chain and stepped forward, saying, "Like hell I believe that. You're my friend and I'm not letting her erase you." "Oh, big words, and a rather bold assumption, isn't that right, Rozu?" He rolled under another swing and turned to face them, asking, "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" They said, "I trusted you, and you lied to my face," which caused him to pause just long enough to be struck to the ground by a chain. "You knew what was going on with Naruto and just refused to tell me." "That's not true," he exclaimed, too preoccupied to see the chain grabbing his leg, which raised him and drew him nearer to them. "I wanted to tell you, but there's a law." Even as they continued to yell at him, their voice was becoming weaker. "I compromised the one thing I have left from my past because I thought I could trust you. And you wouldn't break one stupid law." He didn't see how, "So you're just going to let her kill you," related to the current circumstance. "I'm sorry I lied, okay. But you can be mad at me tomorrow when it's you and not her in the real world." Kushina began putting more chains around him and said, "Well, from where I'm standing, this rescue mission of yours is going spectacularly." Together, they shouted, "Stay out of this," at her. "Or else what?" Straining against the chains, Rozu said, "Or else I'm gonna kick your ass. You stole my body, my life, and my son." "He was my son first." The phrase, "should have thought of that," was used to free an arm from its chains, "before you fucking died." Yeah, what they said. Iruka also began to struggle against the chains. She watched them both struggle against her chains while holding her chin and saying, "If you both weren't going to bite it here, you do make a pretty nice pair, ya know." Iruka gave her a direct look. He was going to go completely insane. He let go of the chains and snatched up the edge of the table, flipping it up at her. "Shut the fuck up. We're not a thing." A table being flipped at her caused Kushina to momentarily lose focus on the chains. Iruka had enough time to slip away. He took hold of Rozu and began tugging, attempting to free them as well. Without even turning, he could sense more chains rapidly approaching. Despite that last-ditch effort, things were not looking good. Rozu tightened his hold on the chains, ready to surrender and die here in a horrifying manner. They ripped themselves free and leapt back with Iruka after experiencing a chakra surge. They flexed their arms and smiled, saying, "Oh, I forgot how being strong feels." Itachi has really come through on this whole operation. Iruka was pleased with their improved chances. Kushina's chakra also surged as she said, "He is absolutely not invited to the party. When I get rid of you, I'm double inviting him to the party. Big talk, you're just some second-rate replacement for me. You're a failure, a nobody, and most of all, not a real mother. From what I've heard, I've been a mom about 6 months longer than you." Kushina loosened more chains and said, "Oh, you've gone too far, I'm going to tear you apart." Rozu put their thumb to their chest and said, "Bring it on. You're dealing with the one and only mom to Konoha's #1 hyperactive knucklehead." Rozu yanked Iruka back when she attempted to move in. When they dipped him, he froze in protest. They leaned in, the chains starting to press down on them, and he could hear the blood rushing in his head. The words, "Once I'm done with her," caused him to fall to the ground. "We're having a long chat." Iruka was completely stunned and fortunately spared a kiss, so she watched from the ground as they ran in Kushina's direction. Each new chain she threw out was noticeably slower than the last, but they were still able to vault or slide over them with ease. Kushina stepped forward to confront them after realizing she was powerless to stop their approach. They literally hit each other head-on, and Iruka flinched. Unfortunately, Iruka was mistaken about her use of the chains he thought she would not have in close combat. Rozu was obviously outclassed in terms of raw strength between the two of them, as each blow pushed him back. What surprised him more was that they seemed unconcerned about her advantage. She found out why as the fight continued. Kushina slowed down with each blow that knocked Rozu away. They were able to avoid her most recent blow and countered with an uppercut. What's the matter, running out of steam? Kushina gritted her teeth and slammed the ground, breaking it beneath them both, saying, "Don't worry. I'm just hitting my second wind." With the flying pieces of earth leaving little mobility, Rozu had few options. They were unprotected and in the air as they leapt away from another of her punches. Kushina destroyed the nearest Drebus to them with another explosion and a volley of chains. Rozu could not escape, and the chains caught him. Taking hold of them, Kushina turned and swung them into the ground. As she watched the dust settle, she said, "It might not be your real body. But damn does it feel good putting you in the dirt." Rozu spat up blood and pulled themselves up, saying, "I'm really getting sick of those chains. But I doubt you can keep this up much longer." With the intention of only piercing their chest, Kushina hurled another chain at them. Rozu managed to capture this one. They may not have been able to harm her, but her chakra was low. They wound the chain around their arm and slowly started drawing her closer. "I won't." Kushina attempted to retreat and dig her heels in, but she was unable to stop them despite her hardest efforts. "Give up." "It's your call." Rozu simply continued to slowly pull as she started to fall apart. "But unlike you, I'm not a finite amount of chakra. How much more do you have?" "1, maybe 2, more chains." Kushina yelled, "Shut up," with a second chain that was not even fully extended. "Oh wow, half a chain huh? You think, that as the gap between them narrowed, her body was starting to deteriorate. You think Naruto will forgive you? I'm his real mother, he'll hate you for killing me again, we both know it." "Funny, you didn't think about that when you tried killing me?" "He never would have known." They pulled out a fist. Kushina winced, bracing herself for the blow that would permanently break her form. "Yeah he would," Iruka said, watching as Rozu embraced her and Kushina's final moments dwindled in their embrace. Now that the fight was over, he approached them in the hopes that they wouldn't throw him away. The battle scars were now covered by the snow that had started to fall in this area as well. He reached out to them in the crater, which was gradually filling with snow, saying, "We should leave before you're buried by all the snow." They took his hand and looked at him, asking, "Snow? You think this is all snow?" "I'm not sure I want to know what it actually is now." "Wow, who would have guessed?" They were out of the hole thanks to his assistance. "A question about me you're not dying to hear an answer for. Also, how do we get out of here?" Iruka had been too preoccupied with coming up with a ruse to deceive Kushina to inquire, "You know, nobody actually explained that part to me. I assume Fox will get us." "Who?" When Fox spoke up behind them, the two of them jumped back in terror. "Me? Have you Yup. YD, wasn't my business." "Fine." Iruka probably ought to have thought so. "Can you talk?" Iruka returned to the meaningless emptiness before he could say another word. The second time didn't make it feel any better. When his eyes opened, he attempted to get to his feet, but his body wasn't prepared. At the moment, all he could do was scream and collapse to the ground. Itachi said, "Oh yay, give it a minute or so," while working on a coloring book on the ground. "Your body has to get used to having you in it again." Additionally, he was unable to stop screaming, so he spent the few minutes it took for his body to react again yelling. If the absence of falling and screaming was any indication, Fox had no trouble getting back into their body. Rozu was the last to awaken, asking, "Why am I upside down?" Itachi had apparently not moved their body from the way they had thrown it earlier. He put away the book and colored pencils he was using and asked, "Who can say? But you're welcome for the help." "Thanks Itachi." Iruka had not yet received gratitude. "It was like 90% me," she said. "I dunno, it seems like it was mostly Itachi to me. He didn't even want to go in your head. You got caught in like a minute. All you did was flip a table and yell. Because you didn't let me help. All I did was put you on the floor, so that's a pretty poor excuse. For the record, this was also all my plan." Itachi gave the impression that he wanted more recognition. "It sure sounds like it was mostly Itachi." Fox raised a hand and said, "I helped too." "Sorry I don't know you." "Good. I would just like my fair share of credit." Iruka was upset, despite the fact that he hadn't accomplished much. "Shame." They attempted to get up but simply collapsed to the ground. "Well, bye," Fox said as he made his way to the door. "I'll be leaving as well, I need some sleep." Wriggling on the floor, they were still immobile. "Wait, do I have to go to work?" they asked. "Also, you're both invited to the party." "Itachi, you are invited to the party again." Itachi simply shrugged and walked away, saying, "Probably. And thank you, I'll bring Sasuke." Fox gave an indifferent shrug and departed as well, saying, I won't be going. Shit. Uruka, can you pass me the phone? I could. You're the asshole here. Pass me the phone. Why am I the asshole? I helped you get your body back. And you lied to me, twice? Putting the phone down by their head, he moaned to himself, fine. I also need you to push the buttons. As he pressed each button, he looked them in the eye and said, sounds like I am being very helpful. For an asshole, yes, you are. The third Hokage picked up the phone and said, hello? Hey boss, so really long story, but I'm gonna be late. But you will be in? Yeah, once I can move my body. Should I ask? It's not a great story, just a long one. I'll be there in an hour or so though. Alright, I won't have to call a temp then. Good luck with your, body issues? Thanks boss. Uruka, hang up the phone please. He said. Fine, and hung up the phone. But I'm not going to help you just because you can't move. Could you put me in a chair and then say that? He continued to complain but complied with their request. Since Itachi had given him the day off from work, he made the decision to stay and watch them regain their body. The words, okay there is no way, allowed Rozu to move their legs a bit. There is no fucking way legs were this hard to use. Uruka had picked them back up twice already, defying his own earlier statement that he should wait till you can move your arms to try and walk. They managed to drag themselves out of the chair using only their legs, but they were unable to stand up. That is quitter talk, they exclaimed. This is progress. Rozu crawled on the floor as the next half hour passed slowly. At least they could now move all of their limbs, albeit not very effectively. Uruka simply observed while sporadically laughing and lending a hand. It was only 5 minutes of their hour to be late by the time they were able to stand up straight. Once more betraying his word, Uruka assisted them in walking to work. A question arose during the journey. Why did you hug her? He had been taken aback at the time, but had forgotten in the chaos of retrieving bodies. What? Oh, I dunno. Really, I guess I know why, but it's a little embarrassing. But the past hour of you crawling around wasn't? Okay, you've got me there. I thought it's what you would have done. What? Uruka believed they had never attempted to imitate him. I wouldn't have. She stole your body and tried to kill us. Yeah, that is very true, but I kinda get it, you know. She died only getting to hold him once. I don't think anyone would pass up a chance to be with their kid again. It wouldn't have felt right to me, even if I hate her. I know what you mean. Uruka had previously sympathized with her. Even though what she did was wrong, he could see why she did it. Still, I don't think I would have hugged her right then. They punched him much harder than they meant to, saying, oh, don't try to act tough. Shit, sorry, not used to having all my strength back. He wheezed, all. Good, and I think you would have. As far as I can tell, you're still on the fence about me, but you're still kind. Whoa there, on the fence is a bit much, you evil schemer you. Well, this evil schemer appreciates you and your help. Are you saying nice things? To me? Rozu walked a few unsteady steps by themselves and said, well, not anymore. You've ruined the moment, jerk. Plus I can get there on my own, I think. He turned to go home after saying, well, okay, don't push yourself too hard, and if you do need help later just call me. They tugged at his arm, and he stopped. He turned around, bewildered. Despite the awkwardness, they drew him in. When their lips touched, his eyes grew wide. As soon as it occurred, they withdrew. They then left him in the street, dazed and alone. In light of everything that transpired that day, Uruka made the decision to trust his gut. Once more, he steered clear of Rozu at every opportunity. He had to go see them since they had succeeded in getting Mizuki to invite him to their party. The party was just a few hours away, and while he was tempted to skip it entirely, he knew that would only make Naruto angry. He was at the door of the only other friend he believed could provide some insight into the situation, and he was in a state of turmoil. Kakashi asked, opening the door and giving him a slack look, am I being collected for the party already? Uruka refused to let his usual tardiness spoil the celebration by saying, no, but I will probably be back later for that too. Can I come in? I want to talk with you about something. Sure, he said, holding the door wide open and beckoning Uruka inside. Take a seat wherever I'll grab some snacks. He sat down opposite the couch in a rather ancient chair. Although he had never been to Kakashi before, the furniture all appeared to be at most rough. Uruka made a note for potential future gifts, but it probably didn't matter much to him because he wasn't home very often. So, Kakashi reached into a bag of chips while lounging on the couch. What's up? How much have you heard about the whole Rozu situation? That depends on which situation you mean. The most recent one? The party? No, they sort of got possessed? News to me, is not how Kakashi expressed his surprise at this news. I assume that got resolved. Iruka waved his hand in an attempt to come up with a suitable term to explain what had transpired. Yeah, it was kind of a whole thing. It sure sounds like it was a thing. Right, but why I'm here today is because of what they did after that got resolved. Did they get double possessed? No, the aliens? Again, master plan reveal? I will say it if why. They were actually just a Naruto clone in disguise all along? They kissed me. Iruka yelled, irritated by his speculation. The word, actually caused Kakashi to sit up, in a friendly way? No, like in a on-the-lips way. This is bad news. It is? Iruka asked, not expecting anyone else to concur with her. I mean, yes, it is. What am I supposed to do when I see them at the party? I assume you've been avoiding them since the kiss? Obviously, have you tried telling them you're not interested? What? He hadn't really considered that. Instead, he had been too preoccupied with how much more obnoxious Mizuki would become if he found out. I mean, I haven't. Are you? Am I what? Interested? Kakashi was acting far more gravely than Iruka had anticipated. Had he unintentionally become involved in a romantic triangle? No. I mean, no, really, you sounded incredibly convincing but I'd like to double check. Well, I dunno, I never thought about it really. I've never actually, kissed? Dated? Ate eel? I mean all of those but specifically the dating one? He was upset that Kakashi was aware of his eel avoidance. I see, Kakashi said as he leaned back and gazed up thoughtfully. For a while, the two sat silently. Iruka was attempting to come up with a way to break free from the romantic triangle he had found himself in. A courteous method of letting Kakashi know that he didn't intend to interfere with their relationship. I have a solution, Kakashi said, fumbling with his mask. Iruka appreciated the firm tone he used when he asked, You do? Yes, I'll just need you to close your eyes for a few moments though. He wasn't entirely certain about that. Is that really necessary? I'm afraid it is very necessary. Alright, he was confident enough in Kakashi to comply. He heard a draw open a short distance away while he had his eyes closed. Kakashi seemed to have taken something out of it. He felt Kakashi's hand on his shoulder a short while later. Iruka turned to face where he thought he would be standing and started to speak. Something pressed against his lips before he could speak. After a moment of being motionless, he opened his eyes and leapt away. He said, accusing the Kakashi, who had somehow already taken off his mask. He glanced at a tiny tube he was holding and said, I know mango lip balm isn't the best, but does it really taste that bad? Why did you kiss me? Oh, it seems like everyone who's anyone is doing it. Iruka, unable to articulate a clear idea, gestured between them. Iruka then bounded out of the house, satisfied with the message he had delivered. Kakashi shouted, See you at the party, as he left. Iruka was even more perplexed and upset because she didn't know who to ask for assistance. Now that he had been kissed by both of his only friends who weren't at work, he could hardly believe it, let alone he happened to run into the hiding Jiraiya, which was both fortunate and likely even more unfortunate. Avoiding people as well, Jiraiya dragged them both into a nearby bush following a brief panic. After his abrupt departure, Iruka had assumed he would never return. Yep, why are you? I'm here to deliver an age-appropriate gift and then flee before Kushina can end my life. Oh, we actually got rid of her about a week ago. Oh, in that case, I'm here to deliver an age-appropriate gift and flee before Rozu hurts me. Iruka paused, saying, I don't think that, in fact, it was highly likely that they would cause Jiraiya at least significant harm. Not give you a head start at least. I'm not sure. How about you, having problems with others? Although he was sadly without options, Iruka did not want to talk to Jiraiya about this, shockingly, of all people in the world. Yes. Oh, do tell. Well, apparently out of all two of my friends, there are 0 who do not want to kiss me. Oh, I can't see where the problem is here. It's Kakashi and Rozu. Oh nice, Kakashi is a real hottie. Iruka let out a deep sigh, wondering why he had bothered to bring this up to Jiraiya. The issue is that I don't want to be kissed by both of them. Then just say that. I assume they'd both take the message and cut it out. Well yeah, I'm sure they would, however, but there isn't. So, rather than remaining in the bush with me, why haven't you just done that? Fine, There's a but, there's always a but. We're friends, but they're both pleasant, and I like hanging out with them. Trying to date a friend seems like the worst idea, doesn't it? Yes, I have heard that. Do you wish to leave this triangle situation? I'm pretty sure I do. The advice about talking about such topics was starting to irritate Iruka. Well, I think the answer is the same then, just tell them both that, she said. Why would they both do this, though? Do they have no regard for friendships? All right, you're getting there. Why were they kissing? What happened before they both kissed you? Oh well, after we managed to free them from Kushina, I was assisting Rozu in getting to work. Additionally, they had some positive things to say about me, but since I just saved their lives, I don't think that's a reliable sign. You fail to notice the obvious romantic moment? After rescuing them from trouble, a damsel of sorts? No, watching them thrash around on the floor for an hour didn't seem romantic to Iruka. Are you serious? It's like textbook romance. Jiraiya held his head. Who taught you the love language? No one. Huh? Jiraiya holding his head while yelling at him annoyed him. Obviously, rescuing someone from danger is a traditional prelude to a romantic breakthrough, particularly if there had previously been some hint of a possible romance. Well, I suppose when you put it that way. Iruka was unsure of the direction of the conversation and wanted to simply move it along. However, Kakashi did it after I told him about that kiss. Thus, there is nothing there that could save lives. Oh easy, he heard about the competition and is making sure he's a contender. The words, "That's not," that Kakashi had said after the kiss could be taken as that. That's exactly what happened, isn't it? Alright, but I still need assistance. How should I respond to all of this? Tell them you're not interested still seems like a pretty good idea. Maybe interested, you know, one day or whatever, Iruka said, avoiding admitting to any kind of feelings, particularly to Jiraiya. Jiraiya placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "Listen. From my perspective, you have only two options. Option 1. Decline them both since you are not interested at this time. If that changes, then it will, but you must decide on this as soon as possible to be fair to them. Option 2. Become the coolest guy in the village by returning the favor and forming a threesome." What? What? How does that? No, I'm just going to ignore that option. Fine, don't be a cool guy, but still have a threesome. I'm upset about getting kissed. Really, do you think I could manage that? If you were a cool guy, yes. Pay attention. Iruka took hold of Jiraiya's head at this point. What should I do? Hey, you're obviously overanalyzing the situation and disregarding the one piece of advice I did give you. Simply trust your gut. Change my name and leave town. Well, not those gut feelings. Just hope for the best and be truthful with them both. I can do that, I think. When I say be honest, I don't mean tell them you're planning on skipping town and changing your name. I cannot do that then. Listen, Jiraiya said, holding his head once more. Tell these two other adults your feelings, because you are also an adult and can express them. In the worst case, you all remain friends or something after they briefly become irate with you. Iruka felt like a complete fool as he held Jiraiya's head and had his own held. All right, he said. I'm an adult now. You have some real big issues, guy. I am very aware of that. Jiraiya gave him a wrap gift and said, all right, then, I'll leave this with you. Then, I'll go out of town to avoid getting whooped. I suppose good luck. Iruka made the decision to wait at home in the hopes that by not getting Kakashi, he would be late to the party, which would allow him to talk to both of them. He also hoped that whatever Jiraiya had put in this box was age appropriate because he didn't feel safe as the person delivering it. As his clock struck 3, he grabbed his own gift and strengthened his resolve, and he ended up arriving a half-hour late, and from the sound of it, he was among the last people to arrive. It was fortunate that Jiraiya wasn't present to witness the piñata in his likeness being beaten down by 20 children, as the various chaperones who had come along were all mingling by the tables that had been set up. After a quick glance around the area, he couldn't see Rozu or Kakashi anywhere, and he froze in fear as two arms looped with his own. Rozu had taken hold of his left arm and said, "Hey, there's our favorite guy." Kakashi was right when he said, "Iruka, it's unbelievable that you would arrive late to a child's birthday celebration." Iruka had also brought a log to trade with, as she had previously learned. "Sorry, I don't know you." Something else came up. "Those are from me and Jiraiya, bye." One might guy grabbed him over the shoulder as he turned to run, and Iruka sighed in defeat, unable to escape his hold. "I apologize for being late," Guy said. "I got carried away with my workout and didn't notice the time," as he jogged over to the other two who were holding Iruka. Rozu grabbed the gift guy produced and the other two from the floor and said, "All right, and thanks for catching this runaway. Kakashi can show you where the snacks are." On top of everything else, he was certain that it couldn't get any worse. He tried not to look at anyone as Guy led him to an empty seat, and if he had made a list of the worst ways he could try to handle this, he would have listed what he'd done as the actual worst way. "Hey, dude," Mizuki, who was seated beside him at the table, said, "It's unbelievable that you arrived late for this. If you understand what I mean, that won't help you in any way with Rozu." Mizuki: "Yes? Will you allow me to mope for about 2 minutes?" "Sure thing, man," Mizuki said, jumping off the table to go speak to another person. "Thanks, bud." Iruka started to mope now that she was by herself. Dripping wet, he decided to stop wallowing because he wasn't on the clock and nobody's opinion of him could really get any lower. Naruto had pegged him with a water balloon, and he was rudely broken out of it just as it was getting hard. He then grabbed some water balloons of his own. With a balloon in hand, he looked down at the boy and said, "Well, Naruto. Now, let's see if you've completed the strategy assignments for this month." Oh no, Naruto had never experienced such fear before, and as he ran away, his brief life started to flash before his eyes. Iruka had remained with Naruto, raining down hell from on high, and he had kept the boy pinned down behind an overturned table for a few minutes, but he was low on balloons. It turned out that most of the other kids had also thrown balloons at other adults, and the party quickly turned into a war zone. Kin turned on Kin, and it was terrible. Itachi fell for Sasuke's false surrender and had a balloon detonated point blank, taking him out. Kiba and Akamaru had attempted a sneak attack on Heishi, but he caught the balloon and returned fire. "Leave it, Naruto. You're stuck." Never. Naruto jumped out of his hiding place to make a desperate attempt to save Iruka. He was struck before his foot even touched the ground, and as he started to fall, everything around him slowed down. With a single tear streaming down his cheek, he extended his hand to the sky and said, "War never changes." "No." Sasuke cried out to the sky while kneeling next to his fallen comrade. From the outzone with Rozu, Itachi observed Sasuke mourning Naruto's death. They have really gotten into those after-school acting classes. As they arranged additional snacks on the few secure tables, they said, "Naruto was born to act, he can cry on command. If being a ninja doesn't work out, he's gonna be a star." Iruka, who was unaware of their acting classes, had been sold on the act and said, "Sasuke, he's not actually dead, it's just water." "Got you?" Sasuke broke the charade by splattering a balloon in Iruka's face, causing him to topple over. Never let your guard down on the field of battle. It was only when Rozu brought Naruto a juice pouch that he managed to come out of his daze, fortunately just in time to catch the pouch thrown to him. Iruka was stunned as Sasuke rushed off to help his fellow kids in the battle, something he would have expected from Naruto, but Sasuke had completely caught him off guard. Rozu scowled at his save, saying, "Dang, I wanted to get you in the head too. I believe that you supported me in this conflict. By providing the balloons, I am an unbiased third party who is using it to make money. I only take sides with myself." Now that he was gone, Iruka could admit that everyone had become so depressed during the war. "I feel like, we've all taken this too far." Naruto remarked, "I wish I'd eaten more ramen," in between gulps of his juice. "It's easy to have regrets when you're dead." They ruffled his hair and said, "Sorry kiddo, ramen's only for winners." But, he said, tears welling up in his eyes. "Nope, I'm not Iruka, I won't fall for that." Naruto wiped away his tears and went to the outzone, saying, "Damn it, fine." "Hey." Iruka was not so naive. "Well?" Rozu looked directly at him. "You have something to say? Or will you attempt to flee once more?" He was humiliated into keeping quiet. They dragged him to his feet and said, "I thought so. Come on, I can get you a towel while everyone else finishes up." Iruka, who had nothing better to do, followed them and watched as the rest of the war came to a close, with Shikamaru and a few other children facing Heishi. Iruka thought it was a bit impolite of him to use his Byakugan against actual children, but he was too afraid of the man to mention it. Eventually, the children defeated him, using Hinata to surprise him and put an end to his rule. Bringing out the cake, Rozu said, "All right, everyone, find a seat now that you're done with the war. Also, sorry, there is definitely not enough cake for everyone, sort of my bad." 7 candles were lodged in the ramen bowl-shaped cake, which they placed in front of Naruto. "Itachi, could you light it up for me? In reality, I didn't bring a lighter." "I can," he said, flashing through some hand seals and lighting the candles with a few tiny fireballs. Many thanks. Okay, Naruto, from what I recall, you make a wish but keep it to yourself before extinguishing the candles. But first, we must sing him a song for his birthday. Kiba covered Naruto's mouth with his hand to stop the candles from blowing out. Rozu looked around, obviously not sure. If you say so? Yes. He stood up on a chair and cleared his throat. Everyone. Iruka thought it was probably the worst singing he had ever heard, but when he looked at Naruto, he stopped caring and couldn't help but smile. As the singing came to an end, there was a pause, and it was obvious that neither Rozu nor Naruto knew what was supposed to happen next. If anyone had been expecting this rendition of Happy Birthday to be good, they were greatly mistaken. Kiba was constantly changing the pace he was singing it, throwing off everyone trying to follow his lead. He makes a wish now. They glanced around to see if that was accurate. Yes. Kiba took it upon himself to ensure that every birthday custom was observed. The crowd let out a few cheers as the candles were extinguished, and more cheers came as the children were given pieces of cake. Thanks to some skillful slicing, there was enough for everyone, and as a lull settled over the celebration, Iruka noticed for the first time that the third Hokage was also present. He also realized that he had thrown a few balloons at the village leader while pursuing Naruto, and he was fairly certain he wouldn't be making Jonin for a while. As if inspired by his appearance, Sarutobi said, "I think it's time these old bones head home. Take care everyone." Following a brief moment of silence during which everyone in the party paused to bid him farewell in turn, they waited until he was out of earshot. Has anyone been aware of his presence? Choza hadn't seen him either. There was a brief chorus of, "No," from the group. He had somehow gotten in early enough to join the war without being noticed. Shikaku placed a hand on Iruka's shoulder and said, "Not to be impolite, but you're definitely in trouble with him." "Yeah, I know." Iruka was already anxious about the Hokage's potential retaliation. "Hi," she said, "we'll also be heading home now, thank you for hosting the party." The Hyugas were referring to him and Hinata. Fortunately, the entire clan had not joined them. The majority of the guests left over the course of the next 30 minutes, with only a handful remaining to assist with cleanup. Regrettably for Iruka, Kakashi and Mizuki also made the decision to remain. This was the winner. "I can't wait to see what crazy shit the next family to throw a party does," Mizuki said, implying that she had a great time at the party. In order to avoid interacting with Kakashi and Rozu, Iruka stuck with his coworker, saying, "I don't think we'll get invited to a clan party. But this is like the precedent setter for future parties, it would now be rude if we weren't." "I don't think it works like that." "Well, we'll find out come December then." "Are you able to recall the students' birthdays?" "Don't you?" "Well no, but it's in their files." "Bro, we've taught these kids for like 2 years now. They're everywhere." "Bro," Mizuki shook his head, his eyes displaying his disappointment. Nearly too soon, the majority of the trash had been removed. Rozu had shut down and gathered the tables, and Kakashi had packed up what was left. Iruka seized the opportunity to depart since they were essentially finished. Prior to him saying anything, Rozu called out to them, saying, "Hey you two. You can probably head home, there's not too much left to clean up now," he said. "Are you certain?" "I'm free the rest of the day so I can stick around some more," Iruka said, trying to sell this. Mizuki winked at him and said, "You sly dog you. Yeah, I believe he mentioned some paperwork for you. But thanks for the invitation, I'll be leaving then." As Mizuki walked away, secretly flashing him some finger guns, Iruka felt a blood vessel burst in his head. "Oh, the paperwork? Such as the space we utilized?" Iruka attempted to counter this lie with another lie. "Yes." This was shouted by Mizuki from a distance. They lightly poked him in the arm and said, "Thanks for all the help setting this up, I am way out of my depths here." "Oh cool, I was a little busy being possessed so I'm sure I missed some." Of course, he didn't want to be here any longer, but he took it as a sign to deal with everything at once rather than putting it off. Bringing the gifts and other items back was the last task after everything else was finished, and Iruka knew that someone would have to carry Naruto back as well because she heard some light snoring. As you are aware, children typically open their presents at parties. He carried the dozing boy to the other two. "What?" Rozu was obviously unaware of that. "Isn't that weird? Like one kid is just there opening stuff up while everyone else is just watching?" "I mean, when you say it like that, yeah kind of, but it's what happens. Man, birthday parties are weird." "Amen." One of them, Iruka could believe, but both? "Neither of you have had a birthday party?" Kakashi had him there, asking, "What do you want from me? I've been an orphan since I was 5. They gave him a half-hearted shrug and said, My family didn't do birthdays, so yay. Since this was only going to go into very depressing territory, Iruka made the decision to just drop it. He handed Naruto to Rozu and assisted Kakashi in moving some of the gifts. He hadn't really looked at them for more than a few seconds in a week until now. Some of your hair is still red? He probably didn't notice it before because there was only a streak of it left. Oh yay, they said, raising it slightly. The rest went back to normal the next day, but this little bit is still here. It probably means there's still a little bit of her in me, but I'm no expert on this stuff. He didn't want another possession, so he said, we could probably find Fox again to check? They grinned and flexed a muscle at him, saying, I'm not really worried about it. My limiters are still off and I've actually had time to get some of the rust off. I dare her to try me. He said, looking away as his face began to warm up a bit. He was grateful that the walk to the Uzumaki residence was short. While they waited in the living room, Rozu put Naruto to bed and left the gifts in his room. In his stomach, a pit developed. They had obviously anticipated that he would say, oh, you didn't actually just bolt off? Iruka was still scarred from the man's carrying her. I assume Guy is waiting outside if I try to, she said. The statement, I did tell him to stand by just in case, could have been interpreted as a serious statement, but it was difficult to tell. Iruka was struggling and hadn't really prepared anything to say when she said, listen, I'm not really, you both kissed me. This is true? Rozu asked, checking with Kakashi. Yep. And I feel flattered, huh? You are? Yes. You sound very sure of that. I told Kakashi before, but I haven't ever, done any of this stuff before. This stuff? Rozu wasn't entirely sure what that implied. He means kissing, dating, and eating eel. Have you never had eel? That isn't significant at the moment. I didn't expect the eel to be that touchy of a subject. Will you both please stop making jokes? Well, I'll follow up with you on that. How about next week? He was deserving of that one. Look, I know I should have avoided you for a week, but I was really perplexed. You gave me a kiss. You mentioned that, yeah. Why, I desired to. Why? Because. For what reason? Okay, said Kakashi, raising a hand to both of them, but perhaps we try a different approach. I see the two most emotionally open people are trying to speak. Like, Iruka thought everything was going smoothly as it was? Kakashi surrounded the phrase, Rozu, did you perhaps kiss him due to having feelings for him, with air quotes? Maybe I did. Does anyone want to know? Me? Iruka, please wait your turn. For the record, Iruka would like to know. It has been added to the record. Thank you, I would also like to know. Fine, I did in fact kiss him due to the previously mentioned feelings. How do you feel towards him now? A little annoyed. Kakashi turned to face Iruka and said, understandable, how do you feel towards Rozu? Iruka didn't give that much thought. I don't know. We're friends? So you'd prefer if they didn't kiss you? Well, I guess? You guess? They are nice, and I enjoy having them as a friend, but I don't think I'm really in a place to date anyone? Iruka, Rozu said, disregarding Kakashi's hand signal to keep quiet. You could have just told me that. You're a good guy and I don't want to make you uncomfortable. I know, was something that several people had hammered into him today. I just don't know if that'll be true forever. Well, obviously, I am incredible and it is only a matter of time till you fall in love with me. But that's fine. With both of you? If we just, maybe put a hold on any of this kissing and relationship stuff? Kakashi gave him the thumbs up, saying, I can play the long game for a bit longer if need be. They gave him a playful punch, saying, yeah, to get my sloppy seconds maybe. Iruka was genuinely surprised by this. Thank you. Oh, don't be corny. We're your friends first. Kakashi stated unequivocally, well, maybe you are, but I'm a love interest first and foremost. Even though it wasn't particularly funny, Iruka couldn't help but laugh at that given the ridiculousness of his behavior. Hopefully, the fact that neither of them harbored animosity toward him was a positive indication of things to come. On Tuesday, November 14th, at about 2 in the afternoon, fire engulfed the Uchiha district. When Anbu and military police officers arrived on the scene, they found 30 district residents who had been displaced. 6 more survivors were found an hour after the fire was extinguished. Below were the testimonies of 2 of them to describe the circumstances leading up to the fire. Amino Iruka. Iruka and Mizuki had been persuaded to hold class outside because it was one of the last pleasant days before the winter would truly set it. This meant, as he had anticipated, that there would be an hour of real class and the remainder of the day would be spent simply taking in the weather. He had concluded that the class deserved it after the exam the day before. He double-checked the schedule for a safety drill that 2 military police officers might have overlooked as they entered the classroom. Iruka made the decision to face reality and say, "Sorry, we must have missed today for the schedule. What's the drill today?" She took out some papers for him and said, "No drill today, we're actually here to take one of the students. Standard procedure for incidents like this." Oh, Iruka attempted to turn the 30 pages that were given to him. "Which student? Is everything alright?" "Everything's fine for now. Naruto's mother reported some suspicious people outside their home and one of them was apprehended. Just to be safe we want to make sure Naruto is somewhere a bit more secure as well." Oh god. He had simply put the papers in a pouch after giving up on them. "I'll go grab his things. Mizuki can help you both get him ready to go." "Much appreciated," she said as she and her partner went to Mizuki, and he returned inside. Iruka was quite concerned because he could only think of a small number of people who might be pursuing the Uzumaki family. To feel a little better about everything, he packed up Naruto's belongings and placed a flash tag inside along with usage instructions. He hurried back outside to Naruto and the officers after gathering everything. Clinging to a tree, Naruto exclaimed, "I have the right to remain silent. Again, we are not here to arrest you, obviously thought this would be a simpler situation, just to escort you to safety. I have the right to an attorney." Rozu had instilled in the boy some dubious beliefs. "Naruto, it's alright." Iruka chose to move this along without much delay. "They're just here to help out." Naruto moved behind the tree to give them some privacy and said, "Iruka, please come a little closer. Mom has always said cops aren't to be trusted." Of course they have, as a statement that will be discussed with Rozu later. But they're here because Rozu went to them for help and are just trying to make sure you're safe. "Promise?" he asked, looking from Iruka to the officers. "Promise," he said, passing the bag. "And in case something happens, I gave you a little gift, only to be used for emergencies." "Oh," Naruto exclaimed as he hurriedly opened the bag to reveal the present. "Deal. Take me away, coppers." "Again, not why," she said, glancing at his extended arms. "Sure, whatever, bag him and tag him." "Right." He was handcuffed by the other officer. "Thanks for the help, it's a nice change of pace to have people cooperate." With the words, "Anytime officers," Iruka made sure to lead by example for all of the children in attendance. "Wow." Mizuki approached him as the trio departed. "You sure can be a bootlicker." "What? Just saying, you were awful chummy with those pigs." "Mizuki, they're officers of the law, complying with their requests is not being chummy." "Whatever you say, man, I'm just saying this is not a good look on you. Nobody loves a bootlicker." "Whatever." Iruka chose to ignore him and watch the other pupils because it was better to be safe than sorry. He chose to review the papers he had been given after he was certain they were all present and that nobody was hiding in the shadows. While the remaining 28 pages were filled with random jargon and nonsense to make the report appear authentic, the first 2 pages contained actual incident reports. That was not encouraging to him. Iruka?" Mizuki called out, sounding a little scared. "I think someone is here to see you." Iruka braced herself for the worst, expecting a very angry Rozu after he had just given their son away. He wasn't expecting a rather battered Itachi to hobble out of the forest. "Naruto. Is he here?" Itachi asked, her eyes red as she looked around. "No, some cops just took him away and gave me a fake incident report." In the direction Iruka indicated, "Fuck," Itachi began to move. "Keep Sasuke here." Iruka began to follow him, asking, "What? Can you explain what's going on?" "No, Mizuki, get the kids inside, on it. You heard him inside everyone." "You too." Itachi attempted to dismiss him. "No, I just sent Naruto off with some fake cops apparently, so I'm going too." He rubbed his forehead and sighed. "They aren't fake cops. They came here to get Naruto as part of my father's orders. The village is about to become a very unsafe place and I need you to keep an eye on Sasuke." Iruka put an arm over Itachi's shoulder to help him walk more quickly. "He's with Mizuki. He'll be fine. If this is related to Naruto then I'm coming too," she said. "Fine." Iruka had only visited the Uchiha district once before, but she could sense that something was wrong when Itachi took them back there. There were too many people living in the district for them to be the only ones living on the streets. They came to a halt at the clan head's home's entrance. Itachi removed Iruka's arm and stretched his leg, saying, "From here on, things won't be easy. We likely won't have any backup and will be greatly outnumbered." Iruka grabbed a kunai and asked, "What is about to happen?" He could feel it in the air even if Itachi hadn't warned him. The Uchiha clan is planning a coup. My father believes he can control the Nine Tails and force the village to surrender. Almost every Uchiha ninja in the village will be between us and him. Oh, he almost wished he hadn't heard that. Great. Don't look anyone in the eyes. After receiving that piece of advice, the two entered Itachi's house. It was eerily quiet, just like outside. Leading the way, Itachi looked around the corner. Arms rushed through the wall as he pressed against it, trying to seize him. He broke out into a swarm of crows as they connected. Across the room, Itachi reformed, behind you, and blasted the wall with fire. Iruka heeded the warning and turned just in time to deflect a kunai that was approaching. The entrance was now blocked by two more Uchiha. He prepared his own counterattack after identifying the seals that the fire jutsu had started. Iruka used Rozu's water release gunshot move to blast the two of them out of the house. Come on, Itachi dragged him past the smoldering corpse in the interior wall. They'll be down below in the meeting chamber. I have a secret way in. The two accelerated their pace and reached a tiny courtyard inside the house. Itachi nodded and produced a few explosive tags after surveying the area. He pointed and shoved some into Iruka's hand, saying, "Put these 4 over there." Is T. Do it. Iruka set up the tags, right, by doing as she was told. After setting up, Itachi leapt up onto a rooftop. Iruka did the same, bracing for the blow. The whole building trembled as Itachi set them off, and smoke obscured his vision, but Iruka deduced from the sound that it was effective. A huge gust of wind cleared the smoke a moment later. The few ninjas who had expelled the wind then leapt up toward them from the hole. Stop, Fugaku said, and the 4 retreated. Itachi. Father. Sasuke's teacher. The statement, "That's correct," made Iruka wish he had something interesting to say here. Fugaku returned to speaking to Itachi, asking, "I take it you're not going to reconsider which side you're on. This entire idea is insane." So no, Fugaku also jumped up onto the rooftop, saying, "All right then. The rest of you handle this other guy." Itachi grabbed a kunai and looked down at his father, saying, "I'll handle him, find Naruto." The words, "just me versus this small army of ninjas," made Iruka more determined. Iruka leapt down and dodged one of the other 4's initial attacks. He looked around the room using the sound of his landing. Naruto was not present. He was thrown back by the explosion of the fireball, but he was able to dodge a direct hit by dodging to the side. He landed just past the 4 ninjas attempting to kill him on the far side of the room, where he could see the exit. He thought it might be worth a try. "Any chance you all could just let me get over there?" he asked. The 4 of them prepared another combined fire attack rather than responding. Iruka clenched his jaw. He only had one choice. Iruka channeled his chakra and employed the hiding like a mole technique, waiting until the flames were out of sight. Since he was only partially singed when he sank into the ground, he owed Kakashi one for this save. He advanced as fast as he could, grabbing 2 flash tags and throwing them up once he was certain he was behind the 4. After they exploded, he also came out and hurried out of the room, leaving the 4 blinded ninja to lash out in his wake. "If I were a secret basement, where would I hide Naruto?" he asked, running down the corridor in search of any more rooms. "This sucks," he heard Naruto say in a displeased tone. "I'm bored." "Tough," was said by another person in the room. Iruka walked as silently as he could to the door. He was fairly certain that it was just the 2 of them in there as he listened against it. He sincerely hoped that whoever it was not wearing a Sharingan. Iruka came into the room. "I'm here for the boy," after changing into Fugaku. The lone guard turned to him and asked, "What?" Fortunately, his eyes were not red. "Oh, sorry sir." "At ease," was the only word he hoped made sense. "We're moving locations, someone is compromised. I'll be taking Naruto myself." "Are you sure sir? I thought it was my job to watch him?" It was yes, but plans have changed. I need you running distraction at the Hokage's office. "Is that a good idea sir? Do you trust me?" "Of course sir." Iruka hoped Fugaki would say something like, "Then get your ass over there double time." "Yes sir." The guard exclaimed as he ran out of the room, fortunately out of sight of the debris. Iruka closed the door behind her and dropped the transformation, saying, "Oh thank God." Iruka, "Yeah, so it turns out you can't trust cops. I'm here to rescue you." "I knew it. And why?" Iruka took his hand and said, "That is a very long story. For now, I need to sneak you past a lot of very dangerous people somehow." The guard returned to the room and said, "Hey, wait a second. This is a test, right? You failed it. Iruka slammed his head against the wall, grabbing Naruto and taking note of that cool line for later. He then took off running. He didn't know where he was going, and the hallways all looked the same. Now it was impossible to even locate the meeting room. He only had 2 explosive tags, and he glanced up at the hallway ceiling. Naruto was dragged back to the final turn after they were adhered to the ceiling. Iruka did not want him to blow up buildings, so she told him, "Do not ever do this, okay?" Do what? A hole was blown somewhere when the tags blew. That. No promises. Iruka threw Naruto up the hole after hearing footsteps and then leapt through it. He felt somewhat guilty as he gazed at the now demolished dining room. It's kind of bad, but not bad enough to prevent him from kicking down the door to get outside more quickly. One of the 4 from earlier interrupted them, saying, "Told you, if we just wait out here he'll show up." Shit. They now had a group of people around them who were furious with Iruka. "Hey language," one of them said, gesturing to Naruto instead. "Oh really? Yeah man, he's like 6. Iruka looked at Rozu, who was slightly burned, but also here, and said, "Actually he's 7 as of last month." "Oh thanks," this man said, turning to them. "Yay, no problem," they said, dropping him after smashing a haymaker into his head. One of the 3 said, "Shit," and the hand seals for a fireball began. Language. Rozu struck her stomach with a fist before she could finish the seals. "I just told you he's 7. Rozu had to retreat to where Iruka was still standing after the other 2 moved in. They extracted 2 from his kunai pouch. "Really? I don't have my own," one of the men rushed at them, saying, "You really shouldn't talk this much in a fight, you know." "I'll talk as much as I." He launched a point-blank fireball at them, cutting them off. Naruto leapt back, and Iruka shielded his eyes. When the other woman attempted to interrupt him, Rozu knocked her down. After the blast smoke cleared, a severely burned log was visible. They nudged at his side, saying, "Man, these guys are like really weak. I thought you were actually in danger. Sorry, I should have let you handle this." Iruka had actually believed he was still stronger than both of them, but he had assumed they were fairly strong. "Yeah, I just wanted to, give them a chance." "Man, you really are a nice guy. I want to watch the fight." Naruto sulked as he yanked Iruka's hands away. "Damn it, I missed it." Forgetting someone? The last man obviously didn't enjoy being ignored. They casually put a kunai through one foot and said, "Can't say I am?" "Fuck," he yelled in agony, instinctively grabbing his foot. "How many times do I have to say this?" Rozu used the opportunity to kick him in the face, causing his foot to tear as he was flung back in excruciating pain. Language. Iruka hoped they were home free because this situation was resolved far more quickly than he had anticipated. Itachi cursed as he was flung toward them, saying he had to go and jinx it every time. He got up and turned back to face his father, saying, "I see you got my bird." They also glanced at Fugaku and said, "Yeah, it got the message across. I take it he's the reason my son was kidnapped?" "More or less. Good enough for me." Looking down at them all from his rooftop vantage point, Fugaku said, "Well, so much for a quick and harmless revolution. But I suppose there's really never been one of those before." Rozu ordered Iruka to keep the kids down here before jumping onto the rooftop. Uzumaki Rozu. Rozu had mostly spent the morning at the Hokage Tower organizing the older files from before they had begun there, as it had been a very slow morning. This was made a little more enjoyable by the occasional gust of wind that tossed loose papers around because of the open window. Additionally, they were able to receive a visit from a small birdie because of the window. "Caw," was the crow's way of getting their attention. "Holy fuck." Rozu was startled by the bird and, in one swift move, destroyed a lot of the day's work. "Well, this better be important bird." In response, the bird locked one of their eyes with its own. Itachi's message regarding the current state of affairs within the Uchiha clan was conveyed. It also instructed them where to go in the event that he wasn't present and to meet him at the Uzumaki house after he had retrieved Naruto. "Fuck," they yelled as the bird hopped aside to create space, and they scurried to the window. "Bird, stay here and organize these papers." Caw. Returning home wasn't too difficult. Rozu didn't need to reapply the limiters, and he was back to normal thanks to Kakashi. The military police officer inside was startled when they burst through the door, which was already open. Without any delay, Rozu pinned the officer to the ground by tackling him. "Talk fast and I won't maim you. Where's my son?" "Go to hell." They clutched his left bicep and said, Not very helpful. Is this your favorite arm?" No, oh okay. They grabbed his right bicep and broke his humerus with a flash of force. Fuck. That was my favorite arm. They took hold of his right forearm and said, "Start talking before I get the other bones in it then." He took a few deep breaths and said, Okay, I was supposed to wait here in case the academy team failed to get the Nine Tails host. He's either still there or already at the compound. Wow, you broke shockingly fast. Rozu had anticipated a little more pious devotion after hearing Itachi's explanation of the circumstances. In all honesty, I wasn't very sold on the whole revolution plan. I am less sold on it without my favorite arm. They knocked him unconscious by smashing his head into the ground and saying, "Well, good on you, man." They tied him up and then secured the area. They went to the academy with the conviction that Iruka wouldn't simply hand Naruto off to some strangers without a fight. They attempted to enter the building after spotting no signs of a fight or any of the students. Fuck. The electrified door swiftly put an end to that scheme. "You're not gettin'." Mizuki Kick opened the door and stopped when he saw the Rozu on the floor convulsing. "Oh shit, you aren't here to kidnap any students, right?" They were able to communicate, no, through the convulsions. They were back on their feet after a few minutes of convulsions and a few more minutes of Mizuki's light healing jutsu. He had also told them about the events at the academy. Rozu was shocked to learn that Iruka had done the one thing they had hoped he wouldn't. He gave my son to some random cops? Yeah, I told him he was being a bootlicker for going along with them. God, I'm glad one of my son's teachers has a good head on his shoulders. I try, is what Mizuki noted. They said. Okay, I'm gonna head over to the Uchiha district. Good luck over here, they said as they left. They stopped when Mizuki called out, "Thanks, and if you see Sasuke, can you send him back here? I'm pretty sure I heard Itachi mention keeping him safe and I am so afraid of that dude." "You lost a kid?" "No, he was here when I brought everyone inside and now he's kind of gone." "So you lost him? Look, at least I didn't give him away to some cops." "Tell that to Itachi." Rozu hurried over, since they were now concerned about two kids. It was quite easy to get to the Uchiha sector, which was a sizable portion of the village. Recalling the bird's information, they made their way to Itachi's house. However, upon hearing an explosion, they dropped all stealth and hurried there more quickly. "He's about 6, man." This was said by a stranger who was encircling Iruka and Naruto. They wound a haymaker over his head, saying, "Actually, he's 7 as of last month." "Oh thanks," this man said, turning to them. "Yay, no problem," they said, dropping him after smashing their haymaker into his head. "Dude." Around the two of them, the other ninja began performing hand seals. Language. They rushed over and gave her a stomach slap. "I told you he's 7 years old." Rozu had to retreat to where Iruka was still when the other two moved in, and they took 2 from his kunai pouch. "Really? I don't own one." One of the ninja ran at them and said, "You really shouldn't talk this much in a fight, you know." A fireball started to emerge from his mouth as he said, "I'll talk as much as I," but they were able to dodge it by using the replacement jutsu Iruka was constantly using. They really hoped the bone-breaking sound was only her jaw and not her neck, but they ignored that for the moment and went over to Iruka after seeing the final move to cut her off. They jumped at her, caught her head in the crook of their arm, and slammed her onto the ground. "Man, these guys are like really weak," he replied. "I thought you were actually in danger. Sorry, I should have let you handle this." Iruka appeared somewhat sheepish as they poked him. "Yeah, I just wanted to give them a chance," he said. "Man, you really are a nice guy. I want to watch the battle." Naruto pouted and yanked Iruka's hands away, saying, "Damn it, I missed it." "Did you forget someone?" The last man obviously didn't enjoy being passed over. "Can't say I am, huh?" They casually threw a kunai through one of his feet. "Fuck." He instinctively reached down to his foot as he roared in agony. "How many times must I repeat this?" Rozu took this chance to kick him in the face, very painfully ripping his foot free as he was thrown back. Language. After taking care of those 4, Rozu turned to look for Sasuke or Itachi, and fortunately, one of them swooped down in their direction. Itachi picked himself up and turned to face the spot where he had fallen. "I see you got my bird," he said. They looked up and saw Fugaku, saying, "Yeah, it got the message across. I assume he's the reason my son was abducted?" "More or less." "Good enough for me," Rozu said, snapping their neck and advancing a few paces. Looking down at them all from his rooftop vantage point, Fugaku said, "Well, so much for a quick and harmless revolution. But I suppose there's really never been one of those before." "Keep the kids down here," was the command Iruka gave, and they immediately leapt to the rooftop to confront him. Avoid meeting his eyes, after them, Iruka yelled this. I understand. Guy had demonstrated his anti-Sharingan feat watching technique to them, but they weren't very good at it. Fortunately, it was easy to tell that he was coming toward them. It would be more difficult to avoid his stare up close, giving him the upper hand. Rozu also moved forward, hoping Itachi hadn't told his father too much about them, but they were struck in the face because they couldn't fully read his movements. Gotcha. As their arms swung up towards his chest and their torso retreated with the punch, and then there was an odd noise. Thanks to his Sharingan, Fugaku was able to dodge the majority of the attack. Only one bone bullet was able to clip him. Rozu used his moment of confusion to swing back, sprouting white blades from their arm. Despite the element of surprise, they were unable to hit him directly, only managing to cut his arm once. Fugaku leapt back to avoid getting skewered on them. He could examine them without fear of immediate impalement. Last I heard the Kagaya clan were all wiped out. This certainly isn't something you see every day. Rozu swung their hand at him once more, launching another volley of bones, saying, that would explain the lack of family reunions. Although he could easily avoid the attack at close range, he had to keep moving due to the constant barrage of them, so he made an earth wall and used it as cover from the attacks. Rozu knew they couldn't leave him alone behind it, so they pulled a bone blade from their thigh and slashed through the wall with a grimace of pain. Well, he's not here. Phoenix Flower Jutsu. Rozu jumped back as fireballs smashed through the roof they had just been on. Oh shit! They exclaimed as they began to flee as the balls whirled around in their wake. They would simply need to use a water jutsu to cancel out the fireballs since they couldn't see Fugaku. They formed the seal with their free hand, then spun around and blasted the water at the balls, filling the air with steam. They also used this cover to hide and create a water clone. Rozu had sneaked into the building they had been fighting on top of, saying, okay, so he's probably just hiding in here. Unless there was a third equally small Uchiha child living there, they had climbed into what appeared to be Sasuke's bedroom. They crept out into the hallway and listened for Fugaku, but after a few moments they heard a noise behind one of the doors, so they carefully pulled it open. Great Fireball Jutsu destroyed the door and a significant portion of the house before they could fully open it. You own this house. Thanks to their caution in opening the door, Rozu had managed to avoid being burnt to ash. Stop blowing it up. I live there, and I will destroy it as I please. Fugaku smashed through a wall to kick them. Rozu was at a loss for how to handle him as they were sailing through the air. He was strong as hell, they had to be extra careful not to look at his face, and he didn't care about collateral damage. Considering all of this, they chose to use one of their trump cards. You can't blow up your own kitchen, I bet. They mocked him from inside the kitchen. They assumed he had taken the bait when 3 kunai with explosive tags entered the room. They fled the room and headed for the nearest restroom, where they were chased by the ensuing fireball. Okay, but I bet you can't destroy this bathroom too. Fortunately, Iruka had kept the 2 children where they had left them all, and Rozu was back outside the ruined house, diving through the bathroom window as it was also destroyed. Are you in need of assistance? The rapidly collapsing house behind them was obviously causing Iruka concern. What, no way, I've got him right where I want him. Is it getting ready to fire at you from about 50 feet above? They had some reason to be concerned about the manner in which Itachi posed the query. Is he rough? Great Fireball Jutsu was interrupted when Fugaku, hovering 49 feet above them, blasted a fireball at them. Fortunately, the water clone from earlier, which Fugaku had just ignored, was able to drag them out of its path. Rozu's plan was set in motion when they landed on the ground and demolished more of the building with another explosion. They used Water Dragon Bullet Jutsu to channel the chakra and finish the hand seals, but the result was a lot of nothing. The statement, I see you forgot the water part of that jutsu, was made by Fugaku, who folded his arms to appear intimidating and cool. Give it a moment, they said, holding the last seal. Instead, Fugaku chose to attack them, closing the distance between them, but he was unprepared for the water dragon that blasted out of his house's now exposed plumbing. It grabbed him in its watery jaw before rising to its full height, then turned and crashed straight into the ground, leaving the now completely washed Fugaku lying on the ground. Maybe next time cool it with the hole, Rozu said, pointing to the demolished house. As someone who had just appeared threw an arm over their shoulder, they halted there, oh tough break big guy, and said, I'm just gonna cut that time I gave you short since you're looking pretty washed right now. When Rozu saw the mask he was wearing, they turned to face the person and froze in place. Who the hell? Well? The masked man gestured at them with a hand up to his ear. That man in the mask is you. Rozu had been able to remember some details regarding Kushina's demise. I am a masked guy, yes. After getting down on his hands and knees, Fugaku said, I still have an hour. I can finish this. I just told you, given your L here, time's up. We made a deal. Madara, damn it. Fugaku stood up and gestured at him with a finger. Shame. In front of the man in the mask, reality twisted, and Makoto and Sasuke suddenly materialized before him. When Sasuke Itachi attempted to approach him, he was interrupted by yet another reality warp. The man in the mask waved a finger at him and said, Ah. Fugaku, I hope you remember what happens when you fail me. Sensing danger, the now overlooked Rozu released a breath they didn't know was held, and they looked at Fugaku for the first time, and he gave them all the information they needed to know what to do next. They took another breath, and although it was difficult to remember Kushina, they were able to get enough for their next words. Why did you abandon your plan to murder parents so quickly? Moving on to kids after only 7 years seems like a real cowardly thing to do. Especially from the bastard who took my son's mom and dad, he said, turning one eye toward them. His entire focus was on them now, and he said, Funny, I don't actually know who you are. This brought with it a level of fear they had never experienced before. I'm Rozu Uzu. Did I not express that I cared? He grabbed them by the throat before they could respond. Mom. Naruto strained to break free of Iruka's hold, drawing the masked man's notice. He laughed and tightened his grip, saying, Oh, it's a rare chance to make one kid an orphan twice. I'd be a fool to pass on it. Through his chokehold, they could hardly speak. You're already one. With a single gasp, a bone blade emerged from their leg and pierced his chest, causing them to fall out of his grasp before any more could follow, turning his body intangible. He looked down at them with a growl, and Rozu managed to smirk at him while he was out of breath. He heard movement behind him and turned just in time to see Fugaku rushing Makoto and Sasuke to the others. In an instant, he was on them. He took Sasuke by the hair and said, Oh no you don't. Get your damn hands off my friend, Naruto screamed, but Rozu couldn't see what he was doing. A moment later, a bright flash covered the group of them. Ah! They saw him covering the eye hole as it cleared. Fugaku took advantage of this moment and threw him back. Rozu, not wanting to be left out, also fired bone bullets at him, but sadly, the bones went straight through him. Fugaku tried to retreat, but the man grabbed his vest and stopped him. The man swore as he punched his arm through Fugaku's chest, saying, You're really aching to die, huh? He was about to do something that was a terrible idea, and Rozu could see the blood in his face as he spat it up. As Fugaku exhaled his last words, they ran to Naruto. Amateur-sao. As a huge stream of black flames engulfed the man as both of his eyes bled, but it didn't end there. Rozu held Naruto tightly, hoping to somehow protect him from the sea of black flames, but before the flames reached them all, a large red skeleton formed around them, somehow keeping the flames at bay. The flames spread everywhere, burning everything in their path, and they consumed Fugaku and the masked man. Stay as close to me as possible. Susanoo can ward off the flames, Itachi said, drawing his brother and mother near to him. It was the longest hour of Rozu's life. The 5 of them moved as close to him as they could, and the Susanoo's skeleton shrank as they did so. They watched Itachi, who became increasingly tired throughout the hour, and as a last precaution, Iruka and Makoto formed a circle around the 3 kids. They waited for the flames to go out or for Itachi to pass out from exhaustion first. When the fires were finally extinguished, Itachi collapsed. He's still breathing. Iruka quickly reassured everyone after catching him. The first person on the job to approach the group was Kakashi, who said, Of all the people I expected to see here, 3 of you don't make the list. Iruka threw Itachi into his arms and said, Aloof asshole later. Assist injured teenager now. After saying, aye, to the unruly boy, he departed while other Anbu members arrived to assist the others. Reports are finished. After reading the reports, one Hiruzen Sarutobi had a pre-headache about the amount of shit this was going to throw at the fan. But he also had an explanation for the bird that was filing papers in the archives. You do realize that Itachi is still unconscious. He turned to face Kakashi, who had delivered the reports to him. Correct, once he's up I'll get his report as well. Alright, tell him and the other 2 to keep this completely confidential. I'll think of something to offer the general public. Got it. Hiruzen was certain that this would not be Kakashi's last experience with secret operations, and this was not his first either. In the meantime, keep an eye on them all. Can do, sir. Hiruzen pulled 3 pipes from his desk as Kakashi was leaving for the hospital to do that, He inspected the 2 reports and packed them all, knowing what would happen if they ended up in the hands of a certain person. He sighed as he lit the 3 pipes in a small trash fire, while another person in a different hospital room was also sighing. You didn't even fight anyone, so do you really need a bed, I'm saying? Since they had all been given rooms, Rozu had not dropped this. I battled 4 people. Iruka was too engrossed in this to simply give up, even though she was obviously fine. For you, I beat all 4 of them. I continued to fight them. Mom, is it really possible for us to have a different room? Sasuke didn't want to be there because, understandably, he was currently quite traumatized. Makoto didn't want to be there either, saying, I have asked all the nurses. They're checking the rooms. He defeated that individual. Acting on both sides of the dispute, Naruto was also present when he dragged me from the room. Thank you, Naruto. In the midst of the yelling, Iruka had forgotten about that. Thank you very much, I did beat that one guy. You beat one guy, boo-hoo. I defeated 6 men. Kakashi came in and said, the nurses told me to tell you all to stop calling them to simply ask for different rooms. To keep it down as well. Yeah, Iruka. Me? You? Oh no. Everyone in this room is going to have to keep a tight lid on what happened today, Kakashi said, drawing the room's blinds. Makoto made a very valid point when he said, a whole village district is gone. And the Hokage is working on a better sounding reason for that than the truth. Okay. Now I know I normally neg on this side of you. Rozu turned to Iruka. But, if we can come up with a good conspiracy to pin this all on Jiraiya, I think we should. You wish to blame a highly esteemed village leader for this? Yes. It was all so ridiculous, and that's before the apparently still living co-founder of the village got involved. Before he could get too caught up in it all, a comforting squeeze of Kakashi's hand gave him some quick grounding. Iruka tried his best to ignore them for the time being, even though some of their spitball ideas were almost believable. He was certain that this was their own, rather bad, way of processing the events of the day, and he admittedly didn't have any good ways of processing it either.
I will continue the story in next part. Till then, we weeb offline.